Part 336. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3365. The ape clone said meaningfully. Lan. Senior, the words have been spoken, but they are naturally difficult to take back. Moreover, my dynasty has already become a mortal enemy of them. I don't believe that if I lead the dynasty to surrender in one fell swoop in the future, they will still be able to spare me and my son. I would like to ask Senior to be here for me. A few kind words in front of the president. Ha ha ha, what a far-sighted new emperor. There is no need to go to the president to speak nicely, I will make the final decision and agree with you. Suddenly, the clone stood up from sitting and enjoying the food. On the second day, with the arrival of the Galactic Chamber of Commerce envoys yesterday, and after everyone was happy, better news came out. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce and the Dynasty have reached a more thorough alliance agreement. Originally, it was just an offensive and defensive alliance. To put it bluntly, they were both enemies and friends. But today, when the new alliance agreement came out, it turned out to be a real offensive and defensive alliance. Both sides have their own constraints and collaborative intentions. Lan. At this time, the people of Zindu were all excited. The dynasty has been in decline for a long time. Scholars and military bureaucrats have long come forward to explain that if the overseas enemies invade in large numbers, even this new capital will be abandoned by the royal family in a short time. In other words, those who purchase and build assets in the new capital will lose everything in an instant, or they will risk staying in a city invaded by enemy troops. Whether they can hold on to their foundation depends on their fate. No one wants the Zindu assets that they have worked so hard to acquire to disappear in an instant, so they are eager for the dynasty to get a more stable and powerful ally. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is such a qualified ally candidate in every aspect. It is true that the methods of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce are too powerful, and their military capabilities have been verified in decades of fierce battles. Although in recent years, the enemies of the outer islands have gradually become accustomed to the methods of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and they do not even know where they introduced them. Similar technological warfare capabilities, but this does not hinder the power of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. With such allies, Zindu can at least last a little longer. So everyone celebrates. Lan. Listen, Lord Messenger, there is a festival-like scene with noisy gongs and drums outside, and this is all because of the friendly agreement we reached. Above the main hall, the new emperor also smiled slightly. The civil and military ministers in the entire palace had different expressions, some were happy but some were worried, and they were not as happy as the people outside. Ministers naturally have more to think about. To reach a deeper alliance with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, it is natural to pay a certain price, and what they want to think about is whether the price is worth it. Just like the current situation in the old capital, many senior officials or wealthy families in the old capital did not want to follow the royal family and stayed in the old capital. Now they are still dignitaries behind enemy lines, or even transformed into dignitaries of the new regime. All this made many dignitaries here become wary. The group of overseas people who invaded the capital did not continue to kill people, but wanted to maintain long-term peace and stability. Lan. So if they make the right decision at a critical moment, will they also receive similar treatment? How dare you resist? Therefore, with this mentality, many high-ranking officials have long been in contact with overseas invaders, and many of them are double-faced spies. Doesn't the new emperor know this information? Of course he knows, and he even has a relatively clear list, but what can he do? The royal family is the bloodline of the original royal family. It was originally a puppet selected by the ministers for their own power and convenience. It is not easy for the new emperor to regain part of the power and return it to the royal family in just 10 years. If you want to torment the so-called spies and the so-called two-faced opportunists, It is better to carry out more military operations and show stronger military strength, so that these opportunists can change their minds. If we really go to cause trouble with them, the current royal family might have to step down again and die a miserable death. Lan. And today, the senior officials of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in the capital were deliberately summoned in the main hall to celebrate. This was actually done to show these bureaucrats. Starting today, the royal family has another trump card. With the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce acting as a guarantee, the royal family is more confident. This represents the people's recognition of the dynasty. It is indeed a people under the rule of the new emperor. I believe that the day when the country will be peaceful and the people are safe will come soon. The ape clone sat in a similar high position as the new emperor, only slightly shorter. This is already a very human minister. I wonder how your Chamber of Commerce will cooperate with our dynasty on a deeper level next, Lan. A minister came out and asked. The ape clone spoke calmly, according to the observation of our Chamber of Commerce, the invaders have been ready to move recently and are suspected of launching a large army. Therefore, in order to face this upcoming offensive, our Chamber of Commerce will open a large number of weapons sales networks to your dynasty. And will also carry out part of the loan business. If you don't understand a lot of professional knowledge, we can arrange certain professors to train you later. Oh! Weapons and expertise. And what about the loan? His Highness was talking a lot. This is the first time for many senior officials to hear about the new terms coined by the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, but this is not the first time that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has come up with a novelty. In fact, throughout the entire expansion process of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to this day, they have been refreshing it all the time. People's definition of advanced. Whether it is newspapers or various lifestyle technology items, new products are launched almost every month. As a result, many elderly people are not as good as each year and cannot master so much knowledge at all. Like many elderly bureaucrats present, every day after a while, it feels like the world has derailed them. The young strong sect is different. They have long been exposed to the novel affairs of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and they have even known about the loan business. Lan. So a few people frowned immediately. The area under the jurisdiction of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce had a very professional financial field decades ago, and now the financial industry is in full swing. They have been playing with things like loans for decades. As a young people have more or less come into contact with some of them. The entire dynasty borrowed money from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce? This sounds a bit unreliable, maybe the dynasty will be included. When it comes to finance, they believe that the dynasty cannot beat the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. But there is no way, without financial support, it is impossible for the dynasty to have the ability to fight again. So for the moment, they can only endure it and wait until they have the opportunity to advise the higher UPS and the new emperor. Lan. After reaching a series of agreement explanations, Jia Yan mentioned the recent attack on the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce as if casually. This mouth reminds many people. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce inexplicably sent an ambassador to explain the incident. It should have been because the other party wanted something from the dynasty. Why do you talk as if the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has taken the lead? The incident itself did not have much impact. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce just used the incident to reach a new agreement with the dynasty. Something is weird. Since the situation is so urgent, our coalition operations should start as soon as possible. Well, your Chamber of Commerce currently does not have enough territory to become a sufficient source of war funds. To show our sincerity, we can choose a border place. It won't take too long to establish a special economic zone under joint jurisdiction for financial trade between the two sides, and both you and I will benefit from these special zones. Lan. How are tariffs calculated in special economic zones? Of course it is completely tax-free, but the tax-free time needs to be limited, and there are certain exceptions. This requires you to discuss it with our professionals. That's good. Thank you, His Majesty the Emperor, for your permission. The two sides have obviously discussed these so-called special economic zone matters long ago. The matter was settled without waiting for the members of the court to express their opinions. Many people wanted to open their mouths, but couldn't find the time to interrupt, so they all shook their heads with a wry smile. I had known for a long time that these two people had been hiding for half a day yesterday and were not going to be arty at all. They must have talked about a lot of things. Sure enough, the new emperor was a brave man who worked hard to get the dynasty back on track, and now he wanted to take military action again. Lan. The eyes of several ministers became sinister and they looked at each other a few times, but they held back. Kaizu is still an unshakable anchor in the hearts of many people, and it is also the shackles around their necks. As long as Kaizu dies, they will not dare to truly break with the royal family. Although this new emperor was elected by them, he has finally grown to a situation that he is not afraid of now. Afterwards, all the officials who had retired from the court formed small groups, and they were discussing a lot, naming some who criticized and some who praised the lawsuit. Everyone, listen to me, we must not let them accomplish this matter of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce easily, otherwise we will be in danger of raising a tiger. A civil servant walked out with a sneer. Lan. The officials who were talking looked up and looked solemn. The speaker was actually one of the three prime ministers, the duke, and a high-ranking official in the entire dynasty who had been in control of the court since the old prime minister died in the war a few years ago. However, unlike the old prime minister who wanted to do something serious, this minister was a serious, treacherous minister. He only cares about the interests of his own family. Even after supporting the new emperor, he threatened and persecuted the new emperor several times. Finally, he once made Kaizu unhappy and released a huge deterrent in public. He was shocked on the spot and the main hall was upset. The master was terrified. From then on, he did not dare to threaten the holy emperor like that, and the entire Chao gang was gradually retaken by the new emperor. In fact, that time was just a few days before Kaizu was about to pass away. Because of the leakage of this aura, Kaizu's life that could have been lived for a few more months finally disappeared completely. However, the ministers were kept in the dark and still believed the news that Kaizu was still alive. Lan. Your Majesty, the ministers of your dynasty seem to be quite dissatisfied. I find it difficult to implement the series of orders you issued this time. It's a joke, Senior Envoy. Even if they don't implement it, they must implement it. I have been in office for so long, and they all call me a benevolent monarch. But when necessary, I am not afraid of bearing the reputation of a tyrant. Oh, it's quite decisive in killing, so I wish both of us a happy cooperation. Speaking of which, the ape clone is still very satisfied with the current new emperor. Different from the emperors of the dynasty that I had seen and heard before, this one was more open-minded, and his speech was definitely not as aggressive as the royal family. He was even treated in a groveling manner, behaving like a junior. It is rare to see an emperor who makes people feel like a spring breeze. The ape clone said goodbye to the emperor and queen, and soon felt that there were a few more little tails behind him. Lan. Poof. These little tails couldn't follow them for too long, and they fell dead one after another on the deserted streets. Lord Messenger, what's wrong? Nothing, let's move on to the branch. Yes. Several senior executives of the Yinhuo Chamber of Commerce who followed the ape clone were confused. But none of them felt that not far behind them, those figures had long fallen into a pool of blood. Lan. Immediately afterwards, there were some mysterious people, all wearing clothes from the secret department of the dynasty, who quietly dragged the dead away, and the people were not aware of what happened. This dynasty has been penetrated much more horribly than our Xiancheng. The ministers in the court each have their own evil intentions. The emperor doesn't know who is one of his own every day, and his mentality is probably going to collapse. Jia Yan returned to the headquarters of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, feeling very sorry for the new emperor. If time were pushed forward a little further, for example, if the new emperor came to power before the invasion of the Outer Islands, he might really be able to show off his talents and lead the dynasty to new glory. But at that time, how could the side-blood royal family enter the main hall? So this is a paradox. Moreover, even if he takes the throne, the founder will still die recently. After the death of the founder, the dynasty will still face tragedy. Lan. Therefore, the dynasty has no solution to this situation. The objects they faced were also unusually powerful. Not to mention the new emperor, even if they were replaced by the founders who were at their peak, facing the ticket holders who were about to attack, they would still have no choice but to lie down. Flat portion. So, they have now reached a cooperation treaty with me and will be used by me in the future. Maybe it will be the best outcome for the dynasty. Jia Yan claims to be the holder of the future and can compete in great battles, so he protects a dynasty and finds Shiyuan it's not a big problem. Therefore, he is the greatest nobleman and protector of the dynasty, even if he is the ancestor. He became very calm about it. Although he didn't make it clear to the emperor that the enemy he was about to face was probably beyond human power, from the lines of his words, he didn't believe that the emperor didn't hear something. Lan. This all agreed to the alliance, indicating that the emperor was mentally prepared. Okay, first of all, the things I want will be delivered soon. A large area of large-scale formations required for practice. It is much easier for the dynasty to collect it than to buy it from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, or to use the Chamber of Commerce to pave the way to find it. In the past few decades, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has been continuously collecting such materials and supplies, which has attracted the attention of the dynasty. They deliberately collected a lot, but sold them to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce bit by bit in order to control the price. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3366. Now, the two sides have reached a friendly alliance agreement. In order to express their sincerity, the dynasty finally took out these materials half sold and half gifted, and also stated that it would increase the intensity of collection and strive for faster speed. Collect all the materials Jia Yan asked for. This is the biggest benefit of the first batch. The second is manpower. The manpower I need can be greatly increased. The dynasty even promised a population of 10 million. Among them, there will definitely be millions of high-quality people with high military force value. This is very important to our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. I am extremely happy. In addition to land area, the problems faced by the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce are also due to population factors. In this negotiation, the dynasty gave considerable concessions in this regard. Of course, the ones given will definitely not be elites, but they will definitely be above the stellar level, and most of them will be galactic level combat power. You must know that among the life forms in the other world, ordinary people who are slightly more mature adults or middle to upper level races will naturally grow into galaxy level masters. Of course, they are usually low-level galaxy level masters who have not experienced training. I am afraid that even many star level ones cannot be defeated in a fight. But based on that, even if millions of ordinary people are given to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, after being trained in scientific and professional fields, they will soon be equipped with technological weapons and be able to compete at the same level, or even far beyond the same level. That is an extremely strong fighting force. The other thing is resources. Give me huge resources. I need to receive the first batch of people and lead them to escort the resources back to Xiancheng. I must rely on this batch of resources to easily increase the level by 1 or 2. It's a level on the ladder. Everything went well. The ape clone's mission is not only due to his own sufficient deterrence, but also a reflection of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's recent increasing status in the dynasty. Everyone knows that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has a small population, a small territory, and its trump card is much inferior to that of the imperial dynasty, but the cards on the table now are enough for everyone to drink. They have helped the dynasty escape from death several times, but this is not enough for them to pay attention to. The new emperor's attitude was far more modest than that of the old emperor, and everything turned out to be a contract that both sides signed this time that both parties were satisfied with. Who? When the ape clone was immersed in thoughts, he opened the window with a sharp look and rushed directly into the night. A moment later, a shrill scream sounded. The ape clone returned to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's headquarters with an expressionless face covered in blood. "Mr. Ambassador. How are you?" The high-ranking diplomat who had been personally promoted by the ape clone to be the ambassador to the dynasty rushed over and breathed a sigh of relief when he saw that the ape clone seemed to be safe and sound. Everyone knew that he was an ape clone. He had not heard any news about the ape clone in recent years, and he was already worried. Now that they finally met again, he didn't want to lose this supporter immediately. It doesn't matter. It seems that this new city is the same as the old one. There are many monsters and monsters. Don't worry, Ambassador, we will send people to step up patrols to ensure that the ambassador will not be disturbed by nightclubs during his rest. Well, I'll bother you then. The ape clone returned to the retreat calmly, spitting out a trace of blood, and his face became gloomy. You know, his clone has defeated even the lower level of the territory lord. But the enemy just now had obviously known the characteristics of the ape clone for a long time, and used the smallest amount of force to injure him. Although the defense of the ape clone can deal with the lower level of the territory lord, and even has methods from the real body, which allows him to directly compete with the lower level of the territory lord, but in essence, he is still less than the rear level of the territory lord. With the existence of the upper level, if we really wanted to fight, we would not be able to defeat the lower level of the territory lord. Therefore, when the enemy conducts research on him and thinks of ways to deal with it, it will be easy to injure or even kill him. However, they still miscalculated and wasted the life of a junior territory lord. The subspace split open, and a huge body appeared inside. In it, after snorting coldly, the ape clone stretched out his hand, grabbed a corner of the corpse, tore it off, put it to his mouth and started chewing. This is the corpse of a guru-level expert from this world, and it was freshly killed. The corpse contains a lot of energy. The ape clone has wasted a lot of real body power recently. Although it was all caused by the effect when fighting the enemy, but this time it consumed so much, he doubted whether the real body would consider hiding himself in the future. After all, Black God's clone has fought against the enemy so many times, but the consumption is not as great as his. This shows that his clone is stronger, but the consumption is a bit excessive, which may affect the progress of the real body who is trying to find a breakthrough. Snow hiding is also possible. So he will look for ways to recuperate on his own. The most direct and effective way is to directly tear out the life forms of the other world and put them into the stomach for digestion. Although it is extremely wasteful, there is no other way. Goo 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 goo. After swallowing a lot of power in a few mouthfuls, part of the energy of the ape clone visible to the naked eye was restored. Fortunately, the life forms in this world are extremely large, and the power of the cultivators is neutral and peaceful, making it easy for cultivators in the galaxy to absorb them. Perhaps outside cultivators regard this world as a place for breakthrough, which is also related to the fact that the power of cultivation is so easy to absorb. Let's discuss it with the real body later. The ape clone did not hide his fear of being hidden. He had already said that the two parties belonged to the same person. Once they came into contact, there would be no privacy. This was the same for the real body. But precisely because there is no privacy, and they are somewhat like different individuals, each of them will be very tolerant, because they are all themselves no matter what. The next day, the imperial court learned of the attack the night before and was immediately ashamed and angry. A similar incident happened last time, which shows that the dynasty is not worthy of others' trust. At least in terms of security protection, even a diplomatic ambassador cannot be protected. Although the ambassador did not appear to be greatly injured, it could not conceal the incompetence of the imperial court. So the whole Zindu began to be turbulent again. The streets are full of government officials carrying out strict inspections. And near the embassy, a large number of security experts have been arranged, and among them there is even a vague figure of the lower level of the domain lord, that is, the figure of the master-level master. Faced with the apology from the dynasty, the ape clone did not express understanding, nor did it say that their security was inadequate, but remained silent. This caused great pressure on the imperial court, which not only strengthened security measures, but also sent some private diplomatic gifts. The ape clone just accepted it without saying anything. It wasn't until the dynasty understood his intentions and accelerated the collection of all items and conditions for the agreement that the ape clone relaxed. He not only expressed his gratitude to the new emperor, but also praised the dynasty's speed of response, indicating that this incident would not affect the friendly and mutually beneficial relations between the two sides. In short, a promise was made, which relieved the dynasty. Senior Ambassador, if the attackers this time are not caused by external forces, then it is possible that they are caused by people from within both of us. Does the ambassador have any clues? There are ghosts within both sides, only within your dynasty, okay. It seems that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has many master-level experts. Faced with what the new emperor said in another secret meeting with him, the ape clone expressed disdain. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has not even recruited a master-level expert so far. So if this sneak attacker is not a strange face sent from the outside world, where does he come from if he is not from your dynasty? Gudu. A head was thrown out of subspace. The hidden guards next to him were all shocked and jumped out quickly, wanting to protect him. But he was stopped by the new emperor with a wave of his hand. He carefully looked at the head thrown out by Jia Yan, and his expression soon changed. This is Protector Pang from the Dong sect in the east. Dong Zone? It's a domestic force belonging to the imperial dynasty. What? Yes and no. Following the new emperor's explanation, the ape clone, who didn't know much about the internal forces of the dynasty, suddenly woke up. The dynasty was too big, with many internal forces. Each force seemed to be under the rule of the dynasty, but in fact most of them were semi-independent. The east side was the last area to be annexed to the country, and had always been the gathering place for the last forces that resisted the dynasty's unification tens of thousands of years ago. Therefore, the dynasty's dominance there was even lower. The Dong sect was a major sect in the east. Pang, protector of the eastern sect, is one of the few masters of the eastern section. He once dealt with the masters of my dynasty. We declared them as rebel forces several times, but we were unable to do anything. Unexpectedly, he died. In the hands of the ambassador is really good at it. The new emperor's flattery, the ape clone said that he didn't feel anything. He just stared and said, "So, this clue has been broken again?" His Majesty the Emperor wouldn't think that this incident was really done by the Dong Zone alone? If not, someone provided them with accurate information. How could they know so clearly about my envoy? The place where he is staying should not be guessed. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has several locations here in Zindu. The ape clone just randomly picked one as his place to stay, but he didn't expect to be visited anyway. So, there are still female officials in our dynasty. Senior, please don't worry, I will send someone to investigate. If the moth is not eliminated, our dynasty will be in danger. After receiving another batch of apologetic supplies from the imperial court, the ape clone finally calmed down with satisfaction and returned to the station. And this time, because the dynasty was powerful enough, during the more than half a month of waiting, the ape clone did not face any life threats. Half a month later, the supplies were quickly collected. If it were the old emperor, this part of the supplies would have taken more than a year to raise. The new emperor is indeed capable. There are 100,000 advanced personnel here, and they have been urgently trained by our dynasty for 4 or 5 days. The march should not be a big problem, so I will leave it to the ambassador. In addition, the first batch of supplies has also been escorted. Let them escort them to Xiancheng, it must not be too difficult. 100,000 ordinary people who have undergone simple training, or young adults with certain collective abilities, are quite satisfied for the ape clone. Each of them is above the galaxy level, and as people in the dynasty said, they only have traces of training for a few days, which means that the dynasty does not dare to do anything to them. If all the soldiers from the imperial dynasty were transferred, Jia Yan would have to worry about whether they would defect during the future war. The supplies were also the first batch of goods promised and were urgently needed by Jia Yan. The mobilization of frontline troops has also begun. Not to mention that it will soon enter a war state, but the distribution of materials and the preparation of soldiers are on the right track. I believe that even if a war breaks out later, we can withstand some of the pressure. Please rest assured, Senior Ambassador, our dynasty this time I will definitely not hold you back. That's good. Your Majesty, please come back. We'll say goodbye now. Ambassador, move slowly. The Emperor personally sent this horse 50 million kilometers outside the city, which was quite a show of honor. The civil and military officials watched the new team of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce slowly leave. Your Majesty, is it really okay to be so close to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce? According to my observation, the suffering that our dynasty has suffered in the past 100 years is very likely not just for the dynasty. Maybe it is because of people like the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. I provoked those island enemies. A minister spoke earnestly. The new emperor glanced at the minister and knew that there must be something dirty behind his back. He just smiled and said, "It turns out to be Mr. Kiwei. I wonder what Mr. Kiwei wants me to do when he says this? Is he surrendering? Or should I say, give up the throne to someone you agree with? No. I don't dare. Your Majesty, I didn't mean that." The new emperor changed his gentle demeanor and shouted suddenly, "Don't you dare? Why don't you dare? Don't think that the sneaky people behind you have said anything to you. I don't know. Today's words will be left alone here, the emperor will not fall, the dynasty will. I won't give in for just one day." The second day, the new emperor suffered a sudden illness and died in the Kinzen Hall. All the civil and military officials wanted to support another young prince they were optimistic about to succeed to the throne, so they came to Shiyuan. However, the prince who seemed to have been prepared jumped up to the hall with blood and tears in his eyes, holding the treasure given by the founder. With just one blow, he killed a guru-level minister on his shoulder, suppressed the crowd, and sat on the throne while roaring filial piety. The throne. The first order he issued was, "All orders from the emperor shall be carried out according to the truth. Those who do not obey shall be killed." When the ape clones rushing ahead heard the urgent information coming from behind, they couldn't help but be stunned for a long time. As expected of the emperor's house, this is the true royal style. Compared with the so-called royal families of the past, I really admire this father and son. He sighed. Perhaps the new emperor had already felt that he might die, but he still fought against all opinions and reached so many friendly alliance agreements with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and then died to help the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce verify the sincerity of the dynasty. As for the prince who was about to succeed, he could have hidden behind him and lived a carefree life without resorting to any means. Even if he lost his position as prince, his life would definitely be guaranteed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Buletin Yu. Chapter 3367. But he still jumped out, using the founding treasure that could only use 3 strikes, wasting the power of one of the strikes, sitting in a position that could be shaken at any time, and still insisting on maintaining all the achievements his father had achieved. Kind of command. If a few more guru-level ministers had dared to jump out to stop him, the power of the 3 strikes would have been exhausted and the prince would have died. But he did it without hesitation, probably because he wanted to fulfill his father's last wish, and he didn't want the dynasty, which had already been on the rise, to fall into the abyss again. That's all. Let's look back and see if there is a chance to help them. The ape clone really has a crush on him. The march of 100,000 troops was not something that happened in a short while. There were even several occasions during the journey where when they entered the territory of certain forces, they were made things difficult by those forces with different ideas, and the journey was even interrupted for a time. But they clearly hit the wall. Maybe the newly formed army of 100,000 troops is nothing, but they are led by masters from the galaxy. In addition to the ape clones, many training experts from the military department participated in this march. During the march, these people were trained in extremely scientific ways, so that they not only had combat effectiveness immediately, but there is also the ability to take up arms against the enemy. Like getting a gun. A galaxy-level master picks up a firearm. What is the scene like? A sure shot. How is that possible? We came to disperse them, but how could it be that our troops were dispersed? Damn it! It's a weapon from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. These 100,000 people actually have such weapons. There may be weapons everywhere, and at most there are only 1,000 people with firearms. The current Galaxy Chamber of Commerce cannot blatantly transport weapons close to the capital. Poof. As the ape clone smashed the head of the main messenger into pieces, the battlefield was filled with excited roars. These 100,000 people didn't even believe in themselves. It only took a few days for them to transform from 2-legged sheep who only knew how to escape on the battlefield to ferocious tigers. This is a bit too fast. You don't have to be too happy. There will definitely be many similar situations in the future. The new emperor comes to power again, and the situation becomes turbulent again. We also happen to be able to remove the cancer in this dynasty and share the worries of the new emperor. Yes. The ape clone was used under such a banner to train troops. Anyway, they were marching under orders. It would be a waste of natural resources not to use chicken feathers as arrows for this kind of thing. The late emperor's last wish now seems to be an excellent arrow. Anyway, they just slipped away on the road. If there are people who are uncomfortable here, or those who come to make things difficult, they will go here to beat the autumn wind. If there was someone plotting to rebel there, they would go there and fight with them, claiming that the late emperor's secret decree was his. This is how soldiers are trained. And along the way, not only troops were trained, but also a steady stream of departments from major branches gradually gathered weapons and equipment. The disadvantage was that the transportation team from Xiancheng sent them. In terms of transportation, how could the Chamber of Commerce maybe say no? In fact, so far in the development of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, many dynasties themselves do not know the path they are taking, and the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has been struggling. It took about half a year for this unit to finally arrive at Xiancheng, with the troops walking around and using vehicles to transport troops. The unsuspecting lower-level department personnel in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce were stunned to discover that the Chamber of Commerce, when did a team of elite soldiers come here? He really became an elite soldier. Of course, it may not be comparable to veterans, but it is much stronger than ordinary newly formed troops. After all, they have been in actual combat and their overall strength is above the galaxy level. This is a big plus. Thanks for your hard work. Inside Xiancheng, the real body came into contact with the ape clone, but he did not pursue the issue of using his original power. Originally, I didn't plan to take the next 900,000 elite soldiers. That's it, but since the emperor who accepted our agreement has gone again, it doesn't mean that we can't use this excuse to be more elite with the new emperor. This is not called adding salt to the wound, it is called respecting the deceased. The ape clone spoke without any sinister expression. But every word is heartbreaking. The former prince, now the one in the main hall of the new emperor, thank you. This is taking the skill of using chicken feathers as arrows to a new level. Just respect the deceased. However, this matter is not a frame-up. Rather than turning ordinary galaxy-level people into ordinary people in the Imperial land, and wasting young adults who can only become refugees during wartime, and handing them over to the Milky Way, it is really better good choice. The elite soldiers and generals he trained, Jia Yan really intended to help the dynasty. The friendly agreement, or alliance agreement, reached by the two sides this time, no one is pretending, they are all trying their best to achieve true mutual assistance in offense and defense. However, we need an additional 10 million large-scale population and a large amount of land. Even though it may only be land where no one or few people live, it can definitely alleviate a lot of our internal conflicts. Don't talk about this, Mommy, have you made good progress in your recent cultivation? I find that in this world and the things that I will go through next, no matter how large the population is, it is useless without my own strength. I have been unable to feel it recently. Your cultivation has progressed, which should be the reason why your strength has greatly improved, right? The ape clone frowned and looked at the real body in front of him. The real body couldn't help but smile. He had long felt that it was boring to have no communication with his real body. This time he deliberately used his newly cultivated skills to hide his 5 senses and various traces of cultivation, resulting in the clone cannot feel the memory of the real body, nor can it feel the progress of his cultivation. This creates a sense of freshness. You can take a guess. The ape clone was very bored. Is this real body starting to enter old naughty mode? Even his own clone is causing trouble. However, it was obvious that he felt a bit dignified as he felt the power coming out of his real body. The real body has definitely improved a lot during the days when he was on mission. You should have made at least 10 steps of progress, and the progress in formation is probably also huge. Our strength is not only measurable in ordinary energy progress, so when the two are added up, your strength will be greatly improved by running. It won't fall off. Mommy nodded, then shook his head, that's right, but it's also wrong. The real top masters become more comprehensive as they reach the later stages. They may not have formation methods, but they will definitely have similar skills. The more advanced they are, the more comprehensive they become. The masters who are held back by their strength and progress will develop relevant auxiliary combat abilities, so once the array has truly entered the level of top masters, the less it can reflect its advantages, because others will also have corresponding things. This is easy to understand. Just like the masters of the Milky Way, Jia Yan had various advantages at the beginning, such as stronger mental power than his peers, excellent endurance, and the amazing ability to multitask. When he reached the lower level of Territory Lord, he found that everyone had advantages of one kind or another, which made his advantages still powerful. Ahem. But it's really not as amazing as when I was weak. The same is probably true for the masters on the ladder, and most of them are people who have been trapped in the lower steps of the domain master for many years. Some of them have reached the later stages of their lives. During the days of being trapped on the ladder, their strength cannot be improved for a while. If they can break through, they will definitely study other strength improvement techniques in the long days. As a result, the strength among various masters begins to expand in colorful directions. The formation is very strong, but it is just a technique that has not yet been fully developed. Therefore, if the two are superimposed, the real body will only increase the number of stairs by 15 levels at most. The true combat power can only touch the feet of upper-level ladder masters, it is incomparable to the top ones. I see, it's really disappointing. The clone shook his head and said. Even the real body shook his head like this. After all, they are all one person. If others knew what he was thinking, they would probably want to slap him to death. Not satisfied with this? How long have you been practicing? Others have been practicing for thousands of years, but you have only been practicing for about 200 years. Why do you do this? Versailles. However, Jia Yan's dissatisfaction can be seen from the current environment. The entire environment was too unfriendly to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce and to him. In such a crisis-ridden situation, he really felt a lot of crisis, fearing that his strength was not enough. After the clone retreated, Jia Yan originally planned to let him return to the Milky Way side to take charge, because there were many things there that couldn't be separated from the ape clone. However, after thinking about it, he still let the Black God clone do it, leaving him here. The next ape clone. The ape clone has a body that is dozens of miles in size, which makes it more famous on both sides and makes it easier to negotiate with people in the other world. The same cannot be said for the Black God's clone. When chatting with distinguished guests, while chatting, they have to search in the sky to see where the Black God's clone is. It would be better to let the Black God clone take charge of the trade area. At least the Black God clone there would not be as restricted as in the other world. The issue of the ape clone is naturally not a secret from Jia Yan's real body. The improvement in strength in recent days is really great. After another day of practice, the real body flew down from a mountain of massive resources very happily. Yes, it is the resource mountain. Things from the other world have this style. Even Jia Yan is used to this style. The resources that Dottie possesses may not be extremely high-end, but the advantage is that there are a lot of goods. He is lying on the mountain, enjoying himself very luxuriously. Under such circumstances, his strength improved by leaps and bounds. If the 99 levels of the ladder are divided into 3 levels, upper, middle, and lower, then he has touched 66, the threshold of the upper level. Don't underestimate him who has just stepped onto the ladder to the upper level. The distance he has to cross can be said to be a huge difference. If it were him now and he had to fight against him in the 10-level ladder era, I'm afraid it would be a huge difference. The winner will be decided in less than half an hour. What? You said half an hour is too long to decide the winner? I wonder if the strength difference between the lower ranks of domain lords is not that big. What's more, Jia Yan's strength in the 10-level era is probably not that of an ordinary 10-level master. If he really explodes, his combat power can be doubled, and he can reach the strength of around 30 levels. Doesn't this sound like it? Very close. Now Jia Yan might be able to reach the 70th floor if he explodes. If you beat your weak self for an hour, it will take close to half an hour, which will piss you off. After all, that's how strength is set. In the battle between the lower levels of domain lords, it is difficult to say who will crush whom. Of course, the stronger the ladder, the more people will be crushed. It is highly likely that the 99th level will instantly kill the lower level with one move, but the 9 level killing of the 80 level instantly is like a dream in the spring and autumn period. At least now that Jia Yan has reached the threshold of the 66th floor, he feels confident. The alien master who is vying for the ticket, even if he rushes to the 99th floor, he won't be killed with one move, right? He has also seen the highest level of the domain lord, and he can't guarantee what it will be like then. Maybe like some specific levels, when it reaches the highest level, its strength will instantly crush the same level. Indefinite. Okay, anyway, I won't be exposed for the time being and want to seize the tickets. I don't have it in my hand now, right? However, the investigation of those people is already in full swing. He wanted to find those from the Magellanic Cloud. To put it simply, I want them to have possible tickets in their hands. Although the people of the Magellanic Galaxy must have colluded with the masters of the 5 major forces, it would be ridiculous to say that they are in the same spirit. Magellan has nothing to do with the Milky Way. Whether he is a vassal or a low-class person. How could the powerful forces of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce think so highly of them? The more important point is that even Jia Yan can feel that Magellan may have a ticket, so why wouldn't the five major forces feel it? Maybe after having a dispute with him and leaving, the five major forces have forced the Space Master to hand over his ticket. Of course it is impossible for the other party to give it. It's definitely not on that person. Find bookstore. I will keep a close eye on that guy now, and also monitor the passage. Magellan's people must also be in a hurry, and they will make one wrong step and one wrong step. Now they must regret their decision to attack me, and they must have alerted the snake. It transformed me from ignorance to alertness, and blocked their only way in. Jia Yan still has a great chance this time. Magellan's men are the biggest fat sheep, and they are the fat sheep that he is sure to win. Simply blocking the subspace passage left them with nothing to do. As long as they wanted to compete for this opportunity, they knew that there might be danger here, so they had to bite the bullet. Besides, they probably won't be too afraid of Jia Yan. Beings who can become ticket holders are destined not to be ordinary lower-level domain lords, and there are bound to be many masters in their large and small Magellanic galaxies. Although it is impossible for all masters to recommend one person, the one chosen must be someone with great prestige, and the number of masters following him may be astonishing. Bayou. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3368. Under such conditions, how could he be afraid of Jia Yan? Clover. Apart from the fear that Jia Yan would break the jar and break the passage, so that they would not be able to enter the other world in a big way, there seemed to be nothing to fear. But they don't know that my strength has also increased very quickly. Now I have blood transfusions in several aspects. The longer I wait, the greater my strength will progress. They will waste it. In the end, they may just make me a wedding dress, hey hey. The giant mosquito was in the retreat, smiling strangely. Several workers passing by were all covered in pores and felt horrified. It can't be said that everything is under control, but at least it can be considered as a precautionary measure. Jia Yan has more and more chips in his hands as he searches aggressively. As for the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, its strength is also growing by leaps and bounds. After taking charge of the world's cities for a long time, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has mastered the skills in management and employment. The increase of tens of millions of people and a large area of land are amazing, but in fact the pressure is not particularly great. Clover. After all, isn't there a lot of talent reserves and trade zones? When both sides are combined, that is what Xiancheng really looks like. Boom. Speaking of breakthroughs, someone actually made a breakthrough in Xiancheng today. It's not Jia Yan. Now he has been able to achieve small breakthroughs without making too much noise. People who make such big noise are either low-level people or people who want to show off. In the retreat room, Jia Yan felt it and was slightly surprised. He thought the brain thrower who made such a big movement was a familiar figure, but he didn't expect it to be a group of faces he was unfamiliar with. Clover. That was a subdivision master who had now broken through to the guru level of the monastic system. The movement was really loud. When he broke through, the sky was quickly covered with countless dark clouds swarming in. A thunderbolt rang out from the blue sky, and thunder actually fell from the sky, hitting the densely populated area of Xi'an City, causing several houses to collapse at one time. Fortunately, that area was already a destination for experts. Many experts flew out of their houses after being threatened, but no one seemed to be injured. However, someone in Suancan's management department has already seen the danger from this point and decided to take effective protection in the future. How did this master of Taoism break through to the guru level and overcome the tribulation? Jia Yan was very interested. Clover. He has long known that the so-called spiritual path is very similar to the kind of spiritual practice on earth, and the breakthrough scene he saw today is exactly the same. If you are still leading the tribulation, I would like to ask you if you look like him. Rumble. The entire Xiancheng was shocked by this movement, and countless people left their homes to observe the scenery outside. Sir, this is the second time I have seen the so-called overcoming the tribulation. Is it necessary to introduce new policies to deal with this situation in the future? Hua Xiang hurried to Jia Yan's retreat room and asked some worried questions. Jia Yan was startled. Have you seen it before? Why haven't I heard you talk about it? You were on a visit to the mainland at that time, and the person who had overcome the tribulation was already dead. I felt that there was nothing to say, so I didn't mention it to you. Oh, that's right. It's of little value if you die, but it seems different this time. The man was well prepared. Jia Yan nodded. Hua Xiang looked in the direction of Jia Yan's voice. I saw the subdivision master leaping high into the sky. His whole body was wrapped with lightning. Every time a thunder struck, the lightning would take the initiative to fight with the thunder above, trying to reduce the damage as much as possible. It's really stable. Clover. The subdivision master I saw last time must have reached the upper limit of his lifespan. After cultivating in hiding near my Xiancheng for a long time, he had to rush through the tribulation and failed in the end. Compared with the native life in that other world, the position is much calmer, but Master Jia Yan, I don't think he can succeed easily. Oh? Why do you think so? After experiencing the last incident, I have investigated and found that the success rate of overcoming tribulations in this world is very low, especially the success rate of subdivisions being promoted to the master level. It is as low as only 1/10 at most. The master seems to be well prepared, but look at the things he has prepared. Most of them are items sold by our Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. They have never been verified by previous people as protective equipment that can be used to survive tribulations. They are not representative and their functions are even more questionable, so I decided he would fail too. Jia Yan raised his eyes and stared. Sure enough, the person holding it in front as the main protective item was actually the civilian version of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce's civilian armor. The electric spark that avoids thunder is a civilian lightning protection device. Someone has cleverly developed a counter-attack lightning device. Although it cannot be a ready-made civilian version, it can still be easily modified using a few civilian equipment. Tisk, I'm afraid this person has been preparing in Xiancheng for a long time. Jia Yan clicked his tongue in surprise. He suddenly reacted. If there is any drama in this matter, does it mean that technological equipment is helpful for the advancement of the monastic system? If this is proven, it will be of great help to the entire monastic system. Especially when it comes to the catastrophe of a subdivision being promoted to a master, if technological equipment alone can withstand a certain amount of tribulation thunder, it will have a huge impact. Not to mention relying solely on technological equipment, as long as the technological equipment has bonus defense capabilities, it will have a huge impact. Appeal. What's the appeal? Of course it's the attraction that attracts such masters who are about to be promoted to the next level. Clover. Then, if you get the moon first, or sign a contract with them, and let them work for you for a period of time, wouldn't the problem of insufficient experts under you be solved? Bring me the equipment I want, and I'll go take a look. Jia Yan didn't explain much. He said this to Hua Xiang, and his whole body rose into the sky and flew towards the Xiancheng area. Xiancheng is already very big, now covering hundreds of millions of kilometers. The promotion event took place in a place where strong people gather, not too far from the Xiancheng headquarters. Jia Yan rushed there in about a few minutes. I've met Lord Jia Yan. Many masters saluted him. Lian Haitian also rushed over at this time and nodded to Jia Yan. Clover. Jia Yan approached and said, Senior, do you have any insights? This monastic system still has some connections with our cosmic system. Our promotion will also have larger movements, but unlike us, their movements come from the outside world, and we are completely in danger of ourselves. Jia Yan nodded. I just don't know if this is one of the laws of the universe. The promotion of both parties is not easy. Now I am here to see if there is any enlightenment and help for us and other cosmic energy cultivators, especially it's the direction of my formation, and I always feel that it has something to do with the monastic system. Then you study more, eh? What are you going to do? Haitian watched Jia Yan push out pieces of equipment from the subspace. First of all, I want to make this person successfully promoted. Let him be promoted successfully. This, you kid, you still have such an idea? Very good, give it a try. If you can help him succeed, Xiancheng will become a dream place for powerful people in the entire dynasty. What kind of person is Hai Tian? He can tell Jia Yan's true intention as soon as he hears it. The laws of feeling and analogy are all fake, to put it bluntly, and people come here just for the idea of coming to help. As long as he can succeed and make a name for himself, is there still a shortage of experts in Xiancheng? There will definitely be no shortage. Friend, do you need support? What is making a breakthrough in the sky is a life form that looks like a giant, but has a normal size. He is only about 1,000 kilometers tall, and he looks gentle and elegant. If you don't say anything, you can't tell that he is a subdivision master. Clover. At this time, when he was about to be promoted, no matter how refined he was very alert. He immediately and instinctively wanted to respond, no need. But after seeing the speaker's appearance, he was excited and changed his words, I have met the president, senior. If the senior has any support methods, you can try it. However, our way of overcoming tribulations as monks generally does not tolerate outsiders. The one who intervened. Call. A piece of equipment similar to the armor on his body flew out from the ground. I won't interfere directly. This armor is much better than what you are wearing. It was originally developed by our Chamber of Commerce and was worn by master-level experts, but so far no local master level has worn it, so it will be easier for you. Thank you, senior. The elegant middle-aged man was ecstatic, and he quickly reached out and took the armor handed over by Jia Yan. It looked a bit big, so he just put it on top of the armor he originally wore, turning it into 2 layers of armor. Clover. The defense power has been greatly improved compared to before. Don't worry, there are others. I don't know how they will help you, but I brought them all together. Give me a good breakthrough and be the first master in my Xiancheng to break through to the Guru. Yes. Thank you, Senior President, thank you very much. The elegant man was so moved that he almost burst into tears. With tears in his eyes, he caught several items and shot them into the sky one by one, blocking the lightning that happened to fall. Boom. It was really resisted by these few items. The new lightning rod works. Someone, please record it for me. Yes. Several recording officers who had just arrived around Jia Yan took out recording equipment and instruments and began targeted recording. This kind of process of overcoming the tribulation is very long, and the thunder seems to be free of money, and it is endless. During the process, Jia Yan also wanted to see how the thunder was formed, and then flew into the sky and approached the clouds, but was directly hit by a bolt of lightning and scattered with his feet. His whole feet were numb. He had to give up and continue to enter the clouds, just using his mental power to scan continuously. It's exactly what I thought. This kind of thunder is not like the formation of rain clouds under ordinary conditions, because it is impossible for this cloud layer to contain such a powerful thunder. There must be something happening in the center that I can't explain. Movement. Jia Yan was amazed. Clover. If the thunder is automatically formed by the laws of the universe, then the laws of the universe are too anthropomorphic. Things like thunder are, to put it bluntly, anti-physical laws in cultivation, and many people simply don't think they will appear in real life. But now that it has actually happened, the reasons behind it are quite puzzling. Click. No, Jia Yan, who is extremely research-minded, was attacked by thunder again. To him, this thunder was nothing, he struck it out again with a wave of his foot. Senior President, do you want to harm me or help me? Don't, ouch. The elegant man below roared wildly, and the thunder he received became stronger. Feel sorry. Jia Yan laughed and didn't dare to do any more harm. It seems that this so-called tribulation in the inner world cannot be affected by the outside world. You, the person who created the universe, have you peeked at the cultivators of the earth? Of course, Jia Yan doesn't know whether the universe is man-made or whether there is such a thing as a creator. He signaled the other party to relax and he would not cause trouble. Clover. After retreating to the back, he pondered the rules for a moment, and was finally surprised to find that this feeling was somewhat similar to his own formation. It's not that the thunder tribulation is also a formation, but the aura inside is very similar. I want to write down this feeling. At least it will be quite useful to use it in some changes in the formation. The thunderous light in the sky finally stopped after 2 hours. A figure staggered down from mid-air, and its eyes became filled with ecstasy. Congratulations, Your Excellency, you have been successfully promoted to Master and have entered the same realm as us. The figure of the giant mosquito fell, but it was still just a small mosquito in front of 1,000 kilometers of life. But the other party didn't look down on him, and he didn't even dare to look directly at the giant mosquito. Instead, he lowered his head respectfully and said, "No, Juan, I was promoted successfully because of the president's personal assistance. Otherwise, based on my promotion probability, I would definitely end up being shattered to pieces. Haha, you don't need to exaggerate my role. You have already made a lot of preparations. Even if the next round is worse, the chance of success in promotion must be very high. However, Your Excellency is promoting within my Xiancheng. You see, looking around, many houses have collapsed, and there are even casualties. It is really a blessing for you, but it is a tragedy for me, Xiancheng, alas." Jia Yan deliberately pretended to have suffered heavy losses. Even though the other party has been promoted to guru, both sides are well connected. As a guru, he is still far away from Jia Yan, who is nominally at the same level. Jia Yan has proven with his strength that there is a huge gap between him and ordinary masters. Find the book garden. Several masters have actually practiced fighting alone, not to mention those who have just been promoted, it is just delivering food. When the other party was mentioned by Jia Yan, his expression suddenly became awkward and a little nervous. I can compensate. I wanted to get promoted out of the city this time, but I didn't expect the thunder disaster to come so quickly. I wonder what the president needs. As long as I can give it, I can give it. Just waiting for your words. Jia Yan said with a smile, it doesn't require you to pay anything, but the people in this area are frightened and will probably be uneasy for a long time, so I want to arrange a strong person to protect them. I just need to listen to them. My transfer order is just to do some small tasks. I wonder if you are willing to take on this responsibility. The elegant man's expression was stunned, and then he nodded bitterly, it's okay. After all, it's my fault, but I can only guarantee a maximum of 50 years of working time. There are still people in my hometown waiting for me. Clover. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3369. 50 years. That's enough. In fact, you can also bring your family over. No, Senior, my family is used to staying in the countryside, and we will definitely not come here. Okay, that's all for later. Anyway, we've had a happy cooperation for 50 years. By the way, Do you have any friends who are also stuck at the juncture of promotion? As long as your wealth is clean, my Xiancheng will open its gates to welcome you. Jia Yan found a new talent pool, and the Milky Way began to train world masters. Someone has long put forward a similar point of view, but very few people have actually implemented it, but this new joiner has taken it seriously. He has been studying it painstakingly since he came to Xiancheng, and finally came up with the current result. How else would it be said that Jia Yan has a lucky general? This is another lucky general. The appearance of this person made many masters who were also stuck in the sub-master realm in the outside world feel the advantages of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in promotion. Although you can also find ways to get promoted outside the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and even look for things that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce reveals to help with promotion, it is not as convenient as coming to Xiancheng. Everyone's promotion needs are different. Less than half a month had passed. After Jia Yan received yet another delivery of formation power from the galaxy, he received information that a division-level master had come to seek refuge again. He deliberately took the time to meet with each other. Sure enough, it is an existence stuck at the peak of the subdivision. President, I understand the market. If I serve you for 50 years, can you help me get promoted? Jia Yan looked at the uneasy secondary level creature below and was speechless for a moment. After a moment, he shook his head and said, "Friend, your idea is too good. No one in the world can promise that you will be promoted to the master level. Even I can't do it. Otherwise, I would have trained a large number of subordinates of the same level." The butterfly-like creature below was silent for a while and nodded. "I understand, Lord Jia Yan, but I believe in your methods, so even if the promotion fails, I will not blame you." As a result, there is an additional subdivision master. Half a month later, the news that another newly promoted guru had appeared in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce shocked the entire dynasty. If we say that the person who was promoted last time may have been a probabilist, but the butterfly master who appeared this time is a solid confirmation that Jia Yan has the ability to promote the next master to the top. The entire dynasty was suddenly in turmoil. How many masters are stuck at the next level? No one counts. Master-level masters never exceed 3 digits. It can be seen that there is a high probability of being stuck at the subdivision level for life and not being able to break through until old age. But now, this group of people has one more option. That is to go to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce and ask Jia Yan for help in promotion. Being promoted successfully is just working for the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. It is better than never being able to cross that hurdle in your life. Of course, there are many people who hold similar ideas, but there are also many who hold the opposite idea. Some are already used to life and think it doesn't matter if they don't get promoted. However, these people are still not as good as those who want to fight again. Strong people are a group of people who are full of ambition. The key is that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce and the dynasty are allies. To join the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is not to betray your hometown. For a time, countless top masters from the outside world gathered in the direction of Xiancheng. Many people have to pass behind the enemy's rear during this journey, but these guys with deep perseverance, one by one, seem to have passed 5 levels and killed 6 generals, forcibly breaking through a bloody road, although the final arrival may be 1 or 2 out of 10. But this probability still cannot stop them from moving forward. Thanks to the top masters of these subdivisions, big changes occurred on the enemy side of the originally shaky front. Xiancheng saw the opportunity and took advantage of another large-scale charge of the 2nd Division to take the initiative to send troops to cut up an entire enemy group army that was confronting the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. After winning several major victories, it was cut into pieces. Blocks of enemy armies were surrounded into several circles. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce troops rushed to support in several large encirclement circles, one after another. Swallow the enemy's surrounded troops. Big win. Moreover, it was an unprecedented victory after the enemy's strength was strengthened. People's hearts suddenly returned, and the dynasty was even more excited. Everyone unanimously believed that forming an alliance with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce was the late emperor's most correct decision. But many people who didn't know what was going on didn't know that the main inside story was that a group of crazy masters from the 2nd Division were breaking through, disrupting the enemy's lines, and allowing the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to see an opportunity, so they took action. But it doesn't matter whether the enemy is inside or not. Anyway, it was the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce that defeated the enemy, and also rescued 3 or 4 top masters of the subdivision who broke through the barrier and approached the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. They saw the scene and already agreed in their hearts. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will not promote itself or anything. Another month has passed in a hurry. The thunder that has been frequently seen in the sky recently has gradually disappeared from the residents of Xiancheng, and even the sound of thunder occurs far away. Think of this as the industrialized Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Now it is on the right track. As long as it succeeds once, this magical thing, science, will have a way to slowly make everything normalized, professional and rational. Far away from Xiancheng, which is more than dozens of kilometers away, in the hinterland of a mountainous area, a flying ferry field has been established here. A large number of top masters from the subdivision who have accepted the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce agreement and are willing to work for the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in the future were gathered here. Facts have proved that technological products cannot completely help these masters. They had signed the agreement, and after several failures, they had roughly determined the success rate, which was almost 30%. That's right, it's just a 30% success rate. But don't underestimate the 30% success rate. Many masters who stand at the top of the subdivision will never see even that 10% success rate in their lives, so they don't dare to take risks and overcome disasters. At 30% here, the probability of death is still not low, but it is already the most perfect probability for many people. If you want to achieve the master level without taking some risks, then it is not a technological method, it is directly equivalent to a divine method, and it cannot exist in the world at all. Everyone, are you ready? I'm ready, but before I start to go through the tribulation, I have a question that I want to ask the president. I wonder if the president can forgive me. Jia Yandan looked at the 4 subdivision masters gathered together again, nodded and said, "You can ask, no matter how cautious you are in the face of life and death, I will answer whoever I can." Currently used, it is the most complete and best used app for listening to books. It integrates 4 major speech synthesis engines, over 100 kinds of sounds, and supports offline reading. Their technological equipment is becoming more and more professional, and they have targeted protection. There are many benefits to overcoming the tribulation. As for those outsiders, it seems that they may have technological capabilities and pretty good protective equipment, but how much do they know about the strong men of the dynasty? Maybe we have to get a group of experts to serve as guinea pigs first. Maybe the sample for this study doesn't need too many people, but there will always be a few unlucky ones. The 4 of them looked at each other, and bowed quickly one by one. "I'm sorry, President, I have been blinded by lard. Please don't pay attention to our repeated comments. This is just because we want a greater chance of survival. There are no other problems now. Please, the President Senpai, help me make a breakthrough, and even if I failed, I would not complain." The expressionless Jia Yan took the initiative and took action without hesitation. "It just so happens that you are so concerned about death, so I will try something." There was a burst of crackling. 3 of the 4 masters of the secondary division died, and only one single seedling survived. His whole body was limp and he lost most of his ability to move, but he still struggled to kneel down. "Thank you, Senior President, for your help. I would like to thank you on behalf of my 3 brothers. They don't blame you. I understand. Okay, You're tired too. Come on down. Jia Yan made a very sad expression, and then asked the female subordinate below to lead the newly promoted, but not very happy prototype master-level master down to rest. Jia Yan, you actually tested them. Hai Tian didn't know when he would arrive, so he popped his head and looked at Jia Yan. He watched several times that Jia Yan helped the dynasty's subdivision masters to improve their chances of promotion. Jia Yan had not changed the correct plan he decided a few days ago in order to ensure the chance of success. This time, he took the initiative to use another technique that he had never used before, which was to add formations to it, deliberately causing disasters, causing heavy casualties to the secondary division masters below who were bombarded. It's just that these four people have different intentions in their hearts. It's better to get rid of such people as soon as possible. However, the one who survives should not have the courage to cause trouble again. Senior, what's the matter if you don't practice well and come here again? Jia Yan didn't believe that Hai Tianneng was interested in this promotion process to the division level every day. It doesn't matter if you have seen it once, you can understand it twice, but it has been repeated 4 or 5 times and it comes back every time. For a strong person whose time is cultivation and improvement, this is not a normal sign. Xiao Yan, where is this old man? Senior, although you are thousands of years older than me, please don't call me Xiao Yan. Jia Yan stopped him from calling him with a headache. Ever since he learned that Jia Yan's nickname in his hometown was Xiao Yan, Hai Tian liked to call him Xiao Yan. This makes Jia Yan speechless. You are an old guy and you are not related to me. Even if you are my daughter's master, we can still be considered peers. Is it appropriate to call you a child? However, he was only a little over 200 years old, and there seemed to be nothing wrong with being called a child by an old man who was several thousand years old. Okay, Jia Yan, old man, don't I want to compete with them for promotion opportunities? As a holder, I am very nervous, so I really want to ask for help, and I will just stay in your chamber of commerce and serve as there is no way I can get away from the job of guarding. Since we have such a good relationship and we are still your daughter's master, why not reciprocate the favor and give some of the masters under me to me, and I promise to repay you twice as much in the future. No, more than twice, even if I succeed in being promoted, I can promise you to take action 10 times. Keep your family safe for generations to come. Don't come, you want help and I want help too. This old guy is eyeing the recently promoted master-level master. How could Jia Yan, who had finally risked his life to promote them, just let him go so casually? What's more, his ambition is to get the ticket and participate in the opportunity. What's the point of throwing helpers to competitors? In this way, for one person, I only need one helper, but this helper must be chosen by me. For the sake of you and me being so compatible, and for the sake of your daughter, just help me. Isn't your Galaxy Chamber of Commerce not doing well recently? I will take action for you next. Even if the founder comes back to life again, I will fight him once. Jia Yan pondered. Make a deal. Between a real lower-level domain lord and a young person who has just been promoted and whose growth time is unknown, the choice is easy to make. Of course, things are not that simple. Requires paper documents, promising how long you will stay at the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and several detailed obligations, all of which need to be signed by Haitian. Senior, go ahead and choose. The total number of masters who have been successfully promoted to master level recently is 7. You can pick one of them. Don't be too arrogant about the others, otherwise I will be angry. Okay, I understand. It's over there in the recovery room. Let's go and have a look. Haha, thank you very much, Xiao Yan. Call that name again. It's really good to fall out immediately. However, Jia Yan did not believe that Haitian would turn against him because of this. He did not say that the promoted person followed Haitian because of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. He only said that Haitian now had to cooperate with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce in order to hide his identity, and he received a steady stream of training resources from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, which made it impossible for him to act rashly. But the more important point is that Jia Yan's own strength is enough to threaten Haitian, and breaking up with him will cause fatal danger to him. It is definitely not cost-effective to fall out with Jia Yan for a newcomer who has just been promoted and whose combat power is definitely not yet formed. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3370. Of the 7 newly promoted masters, even if Haitian shamelessly removes one, there will still be 6 left. Burning. The contracts signed by the 6 of them with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce ranged from 50 to 200 years. This suddenly caused the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, which was originally suffering from phobia of the strong, to tremble instantly. Just ask anyone. Apart from the dynasty and the enemy alliance, which force can produce so many master-level masters in one go? In the Milky Way galaxy, that would be a proper lower level of the 6 territory lords. Although he is only a junior domain lord who has been promoted for the first time, he may not be much better than the strongest senior domain lord, but a junior domain lord is a junior domain lord, and his reputation is louder when he says it. It is said that Jia Yan generously opened the map the next day, clicked here, clicked there, and sent 6 masters to the key war defense line without missing any troops. Burning. 6. Do you know how helpful these 6 can be to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce? It's so big that one hand can't hold it. The inexplicable number of experts from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce also intimidated other forces. Both the imperial court and the enemy were shocked. The underground tribes who had good relations with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce immediately sent envoys to congratulate them. The Galaxy Chamber of Commerce can open up a whole world with just a few low-level domain lords. Now that they suddenly have 6 more master-level experts, isn't it too powerful? However, things are not that simple. Burning. Just after the 6 masters were sent out to take their positions, in the first week there were enemy troops testing the city guarded by one of them. Then, that guy also went into battle, and with a tentative blow from the enemy's guru-level being, he was beaten until he retreated and vomited blood, and then hid in the city. No matter how the outside world tried to challenge him, he refused to show up. This move is called a turtle with its head shrunk. It doesn't seem to be much different from the city before there was no super powerful person. Countless people were in an uproar again. But after Jia Yan saw this information, he said it was normal. Burning. Which master doesn't go through a period of weakness when he first reaches a new level? Oh, that doesn't seem to be the case for me, so that's okay. In short, the newly promoted master-level masters are not as strong as expected. But their deterrence still exists. At least the frontier has become more impregnable. Next, we only need to train these masters in a targeted manner. Maybe in a few years, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce will be able to receive 6 people who have reached the standard of strength. Reached the master level. President. There is movement in the area you asked us to focus on. Just when everyone was looking at the 6 extra masters from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce with various emotions, either disappointed, surprised, or secretly happy, Jia Yan got another one. Information content. Burning. He was not so excited when facing the training of 7 masters, but he was extremely excited and rushed to the adjutant of the galaxy who came to deliver the information. Is this true? It's true. If what I said below is correct, the people you are looking for have already been exposed. Very good, now give me all the relevant information. The content of the information Jia Yan obtained was information about the location of everyone in the Magellanic Galaxy. This is something he has been paying attention to recently. They are even more concerned about it than the life and death of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Burning. With the current scale of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, even if it were to collapse, it would not be defeated for a while, but the people from the Magellanic Galaxy are related to Jia Yan's next promotion plan. No matter how fast his strength is now improving, he does not think that he will fail. Relying on external force, you can easily break through the barriers of the Domain Lord's lower levels. It also depends on the promotion quota in the inner world. Sure enough, this is where that guy ends up. There is only one person from the Magellanic Galaxy who has come to the other world, at least according to the conclusion obtained from the intelligence. And that person lost his teammates after the last Waterloo in Xiancheng, and disappeared after a brief contact with the masters of the 5 major alliances. Missing. Jia Yan was looking for traces of this person, but he couldn't get any clues for nearly a year. Now discovered by the intelligence force, he is now in the base camp of the Northern Anti-Thief Force. Shall I go there in person? Jia Yan hesitated in his heart. This person should be the closest to him to get the ticket, but he is afraid that his trip will be in vain. The current Galaxy Chamber of Commerce can do without anyone, but he cannot be without his true body. Although the clones can still stay in control, if the enemy forces attack again in large numbers, no one can be relied on. Even Hai Tian may run away. Without his real body, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce may disband. Forget it, how can you gain something if you don't take a risk? Jia Yan still couldn't resist the temptation of admission tickets. Although it is impossible for that person to have an admission ticket, it is good to just have clues. He came in person, and he couldn't catch a mere master of the lower realm lord level. Burning. Of course, the northern anti-bandit forces must not get involved in this matter. Buzz. In the sky, a figure rushed through the subspace, then tore open the space, and flew under the normal blue sky and white clouds. After resting enough, it tore the subspace again, entered it and rushed on its way. For Jia Yan, his body is now able to withstand long-term space flights within the dynasty area. As he approached the Milky Way visibly with the naked eye, the subspace pressure in this area became smaller and smaller, and his body became more and more adapted to the subspace in the other world. Under the circumstances, he was the strongest in this world. The methods are also reproduced. Ping ping. In the hinterland of the subspace, Jia Yan was soaring in the subspace with the brilliance of formations. Burning. In recent years, his progress has been far beyond imagination. The progress in the formation is even more gratifying. There are so many talented people in the galaxy who continuously provide him with the power of the formation. As a result, Jia Yan has made great progress in the formation without knowing it, at least in terms of energy. You can use it sparingly. During this period of seclusion, he also took advantage of the nearly infinite power of the array to develop several techniques that were only suitable for his own use. For example, if he moves against the formation in the subspace, his own energy consumption can be said to be infinitely reduced. It's really fast. It could fly thousands of light years in the starry sky. The subspace movement method in the inner world is different from the outside world. For example, such a deep subspace movement can easily move dozens or even hundreds of light years in the outside world, but it is different in the inner world. After flying for a long time, it was possible to move a little. This involved quantum mechanics and so on. Jia Yan was also a little dizzy. In short, he used the subspace movement method and took about 3 days to reach the northern border of the dynasty. This is already a skill that far exceeds the movement ability of any known individual. Except for the teleportation array, Jia Yan's movement alone cannot be matched by any known master. Burning. Traveling through most of the dynasty in 3 days was quite exciting. A pig-like boy wearing thick animal skin was running on the road. He is a young man who wants to join the Northern Army. The northern land under the rule of the imperial dynasty was barren and subject to exploitation. It was the northern rebels who overthrew the dynasty's rule in the north. Oh no, the adults now known as the Northern Army liberated them. The boy's dream in the future is to become a general. Therefore, he has to practice hard. If his talent is not good enough, he can practice the killing skills in the army. Even if his strength is average, he still has the opportunity to make achievements. As we all know, ordinary adult individual creatures in this world can reach the galaxy level by natural growth. As long as they can achieve higher official positions in the army, the influence of their strength is not that big. Burning. No matter how strong the master level is, he would not dare to break into the army of the inner world single-handedly, not even Jia Yan can do it. The young man was working hard for his dream, and suddenly he found that the space beside him cracked. Then he just watched helplessly as a mosquito about the size of a mosquito flew out of the space. Well, it's mosquitoes. Why are there mosquitoes flying out of the dark thing? Is it because I'm dazzled? He stared for a moment and saw that the mosquito was suspended in mid-air and did not move. He only found it interesting. Child, are you from the north? But the mosquito suddenly spoke, which surprised him. It turns out that this mosquito is no ordinary mosquito, it can also talk. Is it a small race? I'm from the north, where are you from? It's not like the child has never encountered small species in the wild. Although it's freezing in the north, there are quite a few small species. In the eyes of ordinary intelligent creatures, these creatures look like smaller, inferior species. He also wanted to talk to small species before, but not many responded to him. They often ran away when they met. Over time, he no longer cared about whether small species were intelligent life, and often roasted them and ate them after he caught them. Such a small mosquito shouldn't taste good when grilled. Burning. Let's chat then. I've already had a lot of chats with small species. I came from a faraway place. I wonder if you are familiar with the Northern Army in this area. I'm too familiar with the Northern Army. The pig boy's eyes suddenly lit up, and the animal skin he was wearing shook, shaking off a trail of snow. He decided not to kill this little thing, otherwise no one would listen to what he said about the army. More than 20 million kilometers ahead, there is a military camp. There are Tianying and Lunjing inside. I am familiar with several soldiers. They also taught me training methods. You see, I am now using military training methods. I'm training, I will definitely join the army and become a general in the future. No need for Jia Yan to ask, this young man told everything like a machine gun. Burning. Jia Yan nodded from time to time, feeling that he had found the right person. There is no need to ask for information, you can tell it by yourself. What a harmonious atmosphere. He also decided not to hurt the young man. Because he is better than those passers-by who wanted to take action upon meeting him. Both sides thought that they had spared the other's life, but they didn't expect that the other side thought the same way. So, the strongest person in your area is actually at the level of a subdivision peak. Yes, it is the second division. There are not many masters in our Northern Army who can count a slap in the face. If there were as many as 2 slaps, we would have already attacked the palace of the filthy emperor of the dynasty by ourselves. Burning. The Northern Rebel Army does not have many experts. As far as Jia Yan knows, there are no more than 5 at most. However, their military appearance is good and their morale is extremely exaggerated. Otherwise, they would not have defeated the dynasty in such a way that the emperor's personal expedition was defeated. Do you know that in the camp you are familiar with, there is a new master? He is an acquaintance of mine. He recently came to join him. He is about the same age as me. The young man was stunned, and then he seemed to have thought of something, and nodded, I understand, you should be talking about the little one. He only arrived here recently, but he has already been appreciated by the battalion commander. He seems to have special abilities or something. Yes, he was assigned to the logistics team in the camp, but if you say he is a master, I don't know if he is, because no one usually mentions him. Is that so? Jia Yan nodded noncommittally, threw out a coin commonly used in the dynasty and said, "Thank you, little brother. Here is money to buy you some snacks. See you next time." Hey. I don't. The young man was about to give the money to the Mosquito, who turned away, but when he saw the value, he swallowed and stopped the move. The offer was too much, and I really couldn't refuse it. He is very honest. Tianying Longying? It turns out this is how the Northern Army is divided. Within the Northern Army, there are almost always several opposing sides. Even within a battalion-level unit, there are destined to be two different camps. During normal training, both sides will pretend to be enemies and fight against each other. However, this is very consistent with the military exercise method used by many major forces in the galaxy. As you practice, your military appearance and professional qualities will gradually improve, and then you will not be much weaker in actual combat. Of course, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce trains troops in this way, and Jia Yan seriously doubts that when he founded the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, he helped the Northern rebels. They did not listen to some military advice given by his people at the time, but later turned into a camp. Confrontation mode. Maybe you don't like it on the surface, but you really like it behind the scenes. Burning. No matter what the truth is, it is not his main direction of exploration. The information he got was that the Faceless Man was hiding in the military camp in this area. After the Faceless Man escaped from Xiancheng, he pretended to be benevolent and colluded with the masters of the 5 major alliances. However, his allies chose to flee within a few days and soon disappeared. He actually hid in the far north. Hurry up, and although the food you cook is delicious, it will get angry if you wait for too long. In the barracks, a male but faceless creature 50 or 60 kilometers away was busy. Under the urging of the chef wearing kitchen clothes next to him, he was extremely busy. Burning. Ha ha ha, this little creature is really obedient, and he is also very powerful. He can use the kitchen utensils we use well, and the dishes he makes are delicious. Maybe our promotion will fall on him. The chefs laughed. This faceless man showed up nearly a year ago and wanted to enter their military camp. Many of the tests that were intended to make things difficult for him passed, but some people still disagreed with the matter and said that they wanted him to cook. As a result, things got out of control and the food cooked by this guy turned out to be quite delicious. So the superiors accepted his joining and were directly assigned to the cooking class. Vertex Mobile version URL. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3371. Haha, gentlemen, thank you for your support. The sample of today's meal is over there. You can go over and try it to see if it tastes good to you. If it tastes good to you, I will follow suit. Okay. This dish smells so delicious. You are really amazing. A mere tiny creature can actually make food so delicious. That's great. Where did your idea come from? I doubt you have any unique cooking skills. After the cooks tasted the fragrant and delicious food samples, they felt that they had tasted the delicacies of the world. It's so exaggerated. Thank you all for your love. These are just the ideas I came up with just now. The faceless man has a calm expression, neither humble nor arrogant. I may be disdainful in my heart, but this so-called taste is just the cooking skills in the Magellanic Galaxy. Just like the skills mastered by every civilized world, in terms of taste, the civilized world is always better than the other world. A piece of it? Then just follow this recipe. I'm really looking forward to the general's expressions when they eat this delicious meal, ha 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 Jin. Yes. The chefs finished their instructions one by one, disposed of some of the food waste and other things in a decent manner, and then filed out in a swaggering manner. They were used to leaving all the work to this tiny, faceless creature in front of them. The building quickly emptied out. Ba bang bang. In the darkness, there was a sound of clapping. A giant mosquito creature flew out of the darkness. Jia Yan did not hide his figure. After he knew that this was the military camp of the Northern Army, he decided to fight quickly. The faceless man who was still preparing the dishes suddenly tensed up when he saw the giant mosquito flying out, and then quickly relaxed. He just looked at his approach with a very stable expression. "President Jia Yan, I believe you are not so stupid as to attack me in this Northern Army camp. Who knows you? If you cooperate, I don't have to do anything." Jia Yan naturally knew that the other party was threatening him with the name of the Northern Army. The so-called Northern Army is actually a member of the current enemy alliance, and it is the place where the most common troops come from. The number of casualties caused by fighting with the Northern Army every year is also more prominent among the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce Army. But Jia Yan really didn't want to break up with the Northern Army directly. Just like they caused heavy casualties to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, and the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce was still unable to do anything about them, this Northern Army is a threat. Jia Yan's true body is acting as a monster in the hinterland of the Northern Army, and if he can predict it, a powerful person will appear. Body, putting him in danger. Of course it is nothing more than a possibility. Old God Jia Yan looked at the faceless man who threatened him. "I wonder what President Jia Yan needs from me to cooperate with you. I ask myself that there is nothing worthy of the president coming all the way to come here in person." The faceless man showed a magnanimous attitude. "Your value is too high. I would like to ask, how do you contact Magellan's other guests?" Jia Yan's words caused the faceless man's expression to change directly, and he stared at Jia Yan deeply. "Your Excellency, President, are you kidding me? We need your passage even to enter the other world. The Master of Subspace has also died in your hands. The communication method between this galaxy and the other world has long been cut off. You said, is there any way for me to communicate with the outside world? So, are you sure you can no longer communicate with the outside world?" "That's natural." Jia Yan smiled. "This guy won't shed tears until he sees the coffin." He stretched out his hand, and in the kitchen, pots and pans were clinking. The faceless man looked expectantly at the waiting room outside, hoping that the chefs outside would notice the movement here and report the situation to the superiors. But he was soon disappointed. The kitchen area was actually wrapped by an invisible force, and the entire place was shrouded in it. The outside world cannot detect the slightest movement inside. At least for the experts in this camp, the movements here are not something they can detect. "President Jia Yan, you are really impeccable." The faceless man smiled bitterly. In anticipation of this, Jia Yan had already used his brainwave power to smash a large number of pots and pans to the ground, and then found what he wanted. In this kitchen, which is approximately tens of thousands of square kilometers in size, there is an extremely small subspace loophole. And this loophole is very similar to the kind of passage that the ape clone once used as an envoy to Yin Ao in the mainland. The outside is winding and extending to the distant hinterland of subspace, and it seems to lead to the Milky Way or something else. The place. But unlike the Unao power channel, this tunnel-like thing is very small, so small that even an Earthling may not be able to pass through it. That is to say, it is impossible for them to use this channel to come and go. Is this your method of communication? It's quite private. Before I saw the entrance of the passage here, I didn't even notice the existence of this passage in the subspace. It's very ingenious. After Jia Yan saw this small passage, he couldn't help but praise it. He is a good subspace master and can even move in the subspace in this area. However, it is very difficult to detect such a small subspace passage simply in the subspace, because no matter what, the twisting power in the subspace passage is too huge, especially when this area is close to the Imperial Island. At the edge of the world, the influence of subspace gradually returned to what the other world should be like. Jia Yan is very good at being able to come and go freely in it. It is difficult for others to want to feel the changes in the surrounding subspace at all times while coming and going. What's more, this so-called passage is still so small. Haha, I can't hide anything from you, this. The faceless man felt as if all his strength had been lost, and he sat back on the kitchen chair nonchalantly. He didn't even want to move. Don't worry, I know it's not a big deal if you can contact the outside world. In fact, I am still happy to see your Magellan forces enter the Imperial dynasty. More forces are needed here to disrupt the situation, which is the best for me. Huh? You, don't mind. The faceless man felt like he had heard the most ridiculous remarks in the world. Yes, I'm not too worried about your interference, but don't forget, I said, what I need is from other aspects. If you cooperate, I can give you certain benefits, and I will give it as much as possible. Your star system provides island entry privileges, Jin. I wonder what President Jia Yan wants? If I have the ability, I will definitely support the president. The faceless man collapsed immediately. You know, he not only wants to work for his home galaxy, but also wants to save his own life. The current Jia Yan was not something he could deal with. The scene outside Xi'an City last time was still vivid in his mind. Back then, he had borrowed all the domain masters from the 5 major forces to frighten Jia Yan from killing him. But now there are only 2 territory lords, Jia Yan and him, at the scene. He does not believe that he can defeat Jia Yan alone. So if he doesn't want to die, no matter what Jia Yan says, he can only choose not to anger the other party as much as possible. Maybe things will turn around. You are the wise one. I don't need you to do too much. You just need to share with me the information about how the forces of your galaxy entered the Imperial Island and how they will develop in the future. Then you can do some secret tricks for me. Just work, I won't treat you badly. You are still stuck at the 10th level of the ladder. If I say that I can help you quickly reach the 20th level of the ladder, will you be satisfied? 20 levels, Jin. The faceless man's expression was shocked, and there was a hint of joy, but he tried his best to hide it. The strong men in the world, whether they are from the Milky Way, the other world, or the galaxy. Not to mention greed for strength. The powerful ones in the Magellanic Cloud are naturally not immune. Jia Yan's seduction methods are very simple, but because of this, they are also the most difficult for people to refuse. His many methods are what makes the faceless man who has recently mastered the intelligence of the dynasty most excited. It seems that many rumors on the island have verified that the president of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has another way to improve strength that the people in the Magellanic Galaxy cannot master. There may even be more than one way to improve his mastery. So he was still quite excited. But he remained calm on the surface. In the world of the strong, trust cannot exist, not to mention it is still under such circumstances. I wonder, President Jia Yan, why do you want information about this galaxy? Let me tell you in advance, although our galaxy can create such small passages, large passages are time-consuming and labor-intensive and cannot be made for the time being. So even if you master it, it won't be of much help to you. Oh? How long does it take to make a large passage? Or, are you planning to build a large passage? Yes, I have been searching for the best place to set up on this Imperial Island. I recently found this remote area where the Northern Army is located. The environment and conditions here are good. The small passage in front of me is what I use to test and communicate with them. Channels of communication. If the test is successful, will a channel be established here? How long will the entire establishment process take, Jin? If the test is successful, the establishment process will be extremely long, taking about 3 or 4 years. 3 or 4 years. This is nothing to argue about. Jia Yan was speechless for a moment. These people from the Magellanic Galaxy don't know whether to praise them for being smart or scold them for being meek. Those vying for admission tickets were procrastinating. After waiting for 3 or 4 years, the daylilies were already cold, and it would be better to go in and die. However, the Magellanic people must have had little knowledge of the fight for the other world, which led to their misjudgment. Otherwise, no matter how stupid they were, they would not have been stupid enough to delay entry. Yeah, go ahead and tell us about your galaxy, Jin. Jia Yan just listened and asked questions, interspersed with some irrelevant questions in the process, which caused the effect of confusing the other party's judgment. The faceless man was vigilant and silently answered Jia Yan's questions, and kept a lot of wisdom in the process, guiding the answers from time to time, mixed with many mistakes and omissions. This wave between the two sides is obviously a battle of wits and courage. With both of them having reservations, Jia Yan asked almost everything. He also clearly felt that the faceless man still had reservations about him. That's right. If a master of the lower level of Domain Lord feels that he can't defeat Jia Yan without being captured, he can't obediently tell him all the knowledge he has. That would make him look too weak. Quite a bit. The faceless man's idea is very simple. Whether it is beneficial to delay Jia Yan is another matter for later. Very good, thank you for the information you gave me. I hope you can also understand it. As a person from the Milky Way who came to the Imperial Island, I need to determine the security risks around me, not to mention that your forces have also attacked my trade zone. I have a criminal record, so I can't help but be careful, Jin. President Jia Yan is like this. If you put yourself in his shoes, you are doing the right thing. The faceless man said that everything you say is right. After all, you are strong and I am weak. Of course, it is unknown what he thinks in his heart. Well, here are a few of my improvement methods. You can practice them first. If necessary, we can trade next time. Jia Yan smiled and threw an article printed on scientific paper to the other party. Both sides have similar body shapes, which makes them easy to read. After receiving the object given by Jia Yan, the faceless man glanced at it hastily, then his expression changed, and he looked at Jia Yan strangely. As a powerful person at the lower level of the territory lord, he can naturally tell it at a glance. Jia Yan gave. Whether something is valid. I didn't expect it to be given. He was confused. The president of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, has he been a businessman for a long time and has something wrong with his brain? He couldn't believe it. The original situation of the scene was that the other party had control of the entire situation. If he wanted to take action, even if he attracted people from the Northern Army to interfere, it would be difficult to create a situation that would hinder Jia Yan's actions. The best case scenario is that among the Northern Army's further army, master-level experts sense the movement here and come, drive Jia Yan away, and he himself loses this hiding place. And that was only the best case scenario. He even doubted that Jia Yan, could kill him before that happened. The lessons from the past were clearly laid out outside Xiancheng, and he had to believe it. But what did Jia Yan do? Forgive yourself. And he also followed his previous promise and gave himself truly effective cultivation techniques. Then I'll say goodbye, Your Excellency Wu Lian. By the way, Senior Haitian told me that everyone had their own status back then. He is very sorry about your father's affairs. I ask you to put the blame in the past and he can also make some compensation. Okay, easy to say, I won't pursue this matter any further, Jin. The faceless man was startled again, and he continued without thinking, but after he finished speaking, he felt a little weird. Damn it, why should I do it so quickly? Hai Tian is the enemy who killed his father, but he casually agreed to let things go by the wayside. I am a fool. You can hardly walk when you hear the word compensation? He felt that he was a man. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3372. The Alien Emperor of the Magellanic System. Jia Yan finally got what he wanted through his words and coercion. He has left the barracks. The Northern Army had been dealing with each other, but on the battlefield. Normally, he wouldn't mind going over to test the master of the Northern Army, but now he has other things to do. After asking for the information, he turned around and headed home. That's right. After so much foreshadowing, giving skills and favors, in the end Jia Yan's goal was not to kill the faceless man. Instead, he asked about the true identity of the ticket holder. This wave of calls came unexpectedly. Probably even the faceless man never thought that a young and strong man like Jia Yan would actually get the idea of tickets. Life forms that are too young have no chance when competing for opportunities. The faceless man knows this better than Jia Yan, and it is also the culprit that makes him unable to see Jia Yan's true intentions. Alien Emperor. A true king of the Magellanic Cloud. According to the information provided by the faceless man, there are not many people in the Magellan-sized galaxies who can be called kings, and they can only be counted on one hand. Their status is like that of those powerful beings above the lower ranks of domain lords in the galaxy. Because there are no high-level masters in the Magellanic Galaxy, their status as the pinnacle beings in the lower ranks of domain lords is equivalent to reaching the pinnacle and is extremely prestigious. It is no exaggeration to say that the Yi Emperor is so powerful that he can dominate the two Magellanic clouds. According to him, no matter how strong I am, I can't be stronger than the Yi Emperor, but I need the ticket in this person's hand. What should I do? While he was thinking, he shuttled back to Xiancheng. It's just 3 days left and right. To him now, such a small distance is nothing. Sir, you are finally back. The battle situation has changed recently. Unexpectedly, just after breaking through the subspace and appearing in the retreat room, Huasiang, the deputy outside the door, sensed Jia Yan's return and knocked on the door. Oh? What's changed? Jia Yan was slightly surprised. It's morning and night, but something changed when I was traveling. What a coincidence. However, there was no sense of war here in Xiancheng, and it would not be dangerous no matter what happened. He immediately relaxed. Huasiang immediately told the information, and Jia Yan was slightly surprised as he listened. It's not information about a great defeat. But there are changes within the enemy army. A coalition of island forces turned against each other in public and defected to the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. Then conflicts arose among the enemies and they split into two major factions. This is a good thing. The enemy general who surrendered is here, right? Let him get ready. I will receive him right away. Yes. The fragrance of the flowers receded. After a while, Jia Yan saw the remaining general who had taken refuge. This is a life form with obvious fish characteristics. On the surface, it looks like a giant with 4 limbs, but it also has fish gills and other characteristics. Of course, the biggest feature is its height, which is not much different from the giants, close to 10,000 kilometers. Definitely not a race from the Imperial Island. I have met the great president of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. I am a desert tribesman from a distant place. Please allow me to apologize to you, President. Our race is not really at war with you. Aren't you sincerely at war with this Chamber of Commerce? Very good, my president believes what you say. Believe it or not. Jia Yan complained in his heart, if you don't surrender sooner or later, I've been fighting you for nearly 100 years, and then you came here to surrender, and you said you weren't really fighting. He was doubting the reliability of the other party's surrender. There are a lot of people playing spy war these days, so I can't be fooled. Thank you, President, for your trust. I will take the President's trust and report back to the King. I wonder what your country wants. Jia Yan directly disclosed the truth. The other party must have some need, otherwise it would take decades of fighting to come to seek refuge, and no one would believe it. It's better to make it clear and speak out. As expected, a slightly embarrassed smile appeared on the other party's face, and then he slowly explained his purpose. After listening to this, Jia Yan thought that was indeed the case. This is a force from a very distant island. The island the other party is on is quite barren. The entire continent is twice the size of the imperial dynasty, but more than 70% of it is a desert area. Resources are extremely scarce. Although the people are simple and there are many masters, in fact, even the top players have to compete for extremely rare training resources. So after coming to the dynasty, which is rich in products, they are like seeing the most delicious nectar. In recent decades, the people of the entire country have become visibly rich. All the wealth and materials were transported back from the dynasty to bring the entire continent with them. Wealthy. However, things have changed recently. Firstly, the war has been stagnant for decades, and the dynasty's national strength has also recovered. The supplies they have received are becoming increasingly scarce. Secondly, the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce has gradually reduced its dumping operations behind enemy lines, which has also led to a rapid decrease in their supplies. However, none of the above are the real reasons. The real reason is that there is a large uneven distribution within the alliance. Because they, the Sand Kingdom, are not used to fighting in the mountains and forests, the more they fight, the more they are found to be lacking in combat power, so day after day within the alliance, they use various methods to fight. This designation reduces their allocation. This is so hurtful. Of course, the final trigger was not this content. It's about the many guru level masters that Jia Yan created a few days ago. You must know that supplies in the desert area are extremely scarce. Although they have strong combat power, they are at an absolute disadvantage compared to other forces in the alliance in terms of the absolute number of experts. Too many people were stuck at the top of the subdivision level and did not have the materials to advance. So when they learned that the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce had a way to directly help people to advance to the master level, they felt as if they had seen some great opportunity and went completely crazy. Countless experts within the country are passionate and want to gain the friendship of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. If you gain the friendship of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, you might be able to get the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to help them improve the strength of some of their masters and advance them to the master level. Even if there are only 10 places, it will make their mainland strength increase by a small amount out of thin air. This is how the Saudi kingdom, after plotting for a long time, switched sides at a critical moment and helped the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce troops win a key battle on the border. I see, do you want a chance to be promoted? When Jia Yan heard this, he smiled slightly. Speaking of which, since the enemy forces blocked the border and the dynasty also issued instructions intentionally or unintentionally, telling those who were promoted not to approach the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, it has been a while since Xiancheng has not had a master from the top of the division rush to come. If the Kingdom of Sand and Earth sends some masters and then serve them for 100 years, wouldn't it mean that they have more combat power that they can count on out of thin air? But their loyalty is worth considering. Therefore, Jia Yan does not want to liberalize the quota too much. If there are 5, 6, 7, or 8, you can still suppress them, right? Yes, if your country is sincere, we can start from the first place, but you must consider it clearly, this is risky, and the probability of death will not be too low. President, we have already inquired about it. The highest risk is no more than 50%, right? We are willing to bear it. Just kidding, the risk is only 50%, which is like pie in the sky for a being who has no hope of promotion to the top of the subdivision. Many people even rush for a chance of less than 10%, let alone 50%. There is a half chance of becoming a guru, and in the sea area where there is no super master level, the guru is the pinnacle in everyone's eyes, and everyone is willing to exchange the half chance for the possibility of reaching the top. That's very good, you can. If you take the risk, then go and draw up a draft treaty with my subordinates. After signing the friendship treaty, you can send the first master. Thank you, President. The leader of the Shitu kingdom stood up and left with joy on his face. He didn't expect the trip to be so easy. I thought I needed to engage in intrigue with Jia Yan'er. Little did he know that Jia Yan had already set a prerequisite for those who succeeded in the promotion to sell themselves for 100 years. It's just that in the eyes of the ascetics who have a longer lifespan than the strong ones in the galaxy, this condition is like taking a nap, not even a fart. I don't even need to serve you for 1,000 years. This condition is too good. Jia Yan just doesn't know what people's mentality is like, otherwise he would have to put the conditions in 500 years. Of course, he doesn't need 500 years. The war in the other world will last for about 200 years at most, and he has been in the other world for almost 100 years. If this group of subordinates signs a new 100-year agreement, by the time it is almost over, they will either have entered the final stage of the competition, or they have given up the opportunity to compete early, so 100 years is enough. Not long after Jia Yan returned, Xiancheng made a public declaration with the Shitu kingdom, formed a treaty of friendship, and jointly resisted the invasion of the 5 major alliances from outside. In this public declaration, the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia expressed the feelings of their country's soldiers who had witnessed with their own eyes the indescribable horrors unleashed by the enemy alliance on the people, and every soldier could not sleep at night. After nearly 100 years of reflection, he rose up and joined the righteous side. Well, don't wonder why the righteous side they joined was not the invaded dynasty, but chose to ally with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. The question is whether the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce is considered a dynasty force. Oh. Are you saying that aliens are not considered locals? What a big deal, he settled in the land of the Imperial Dynasty, so how can he not be ignored? If you ask again, we will be angry. In short, as soon as this wave of declarations came out, the whole world was shocked. The entire Imperial Island was in a commotion due to this sudden change. You must know that the enemy has been attacking the Imperial Island for nearly 100 years, and there has never been any talk of defection. The people of the Imperial Dynasty all agree that the opponent is monolithic, and it is impossible to disintegrate from the inside. However, for so long, it has been controlled by the galaxy. The Chamber of Commerce has pried out such a weak point. It shows that even enemies cannot maintain permanent unity. As for the dynasty, although the Saudi Arabian kingdom was not looking for the agreement they signed, the newly appointed Prince Yuan, the decisive son of the previous emperor, chose to express his welcome to the Saudi Arabian kingdom as soon as these statements were made public. Join the righteous side, be willing to develop deeper cooperation with the Sand Kingdom, and join forces with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce to eliminate the evil enemy alliance. On the other hand, the enemy alliance seemed to have no reaction for a while, but the impending storm soon showed itself. First of all, the Saudi kingdom has been bound to them for too long. When it came into contact with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, although the Saudi kingdom had vigorously withdrawn its personnel from the enemy alliance, there were still a large number of people left in the enemy's army. These people were all treated as targets of punishment. Countless people disappeared from the world in the name of investigation. Countless families and masters were imprisoned, enjoying the severe punishments of the original alliance. And this gave the Sand Kingdom an excuse to criticize the enemy alliance. In fact, this behavior of the Saudi kingdom seemed to be just the evacuation of his family, but in fact it had an extremely far-reaching impact on the alliance, and almost all of these impacts were negative. The decades-long rift, originally caused by uneven distribution, has gradually begun to expand. However, the only reason why they did not split was because of the imperial dynasty among them. Although the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was not looking for the agreement they signed, the newly appointed original prince, the decisive son of the previous emperor. In these statements, as soon as it was made public, he chose to express his welcome to the Saudi kingdom to join the righteous side, and his willingness to carry out deeper cooperation with the Saudi kingdom. Joining forces with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, the three parties will give the evil enemy alliance to the Qing dynasty. Get rid of. On the other hand, the enemy alliance seemed to have no reaction for a while, but the impending storm soon showed itself. First of all, the Saudi kingdom has been bound to them for too long. When it came into contact with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, although the Saudi kingdom had vigorously withdrawn its personnel from the enemy alliance, there were still a large number of people left in the enemy's army. These people were all treated as targets of punishment. Countless people disappeared from the world in the name of investigation. Countless families and masters were imprisoned, enjoying the severe punishments of the original alliance. And this gave Shi'Tu Kingdom an excuse to criticize the enemy alliance. In fact, this behavior of the Saudi kingdom seemed to be just the evacuation of his family, but in fact it had an extremely far-reaching impact on the alliance, and almost all of these impacts were negative. The decades-long rift, originally caused by uneven distribution, has gradually begun to expand. However, the only reason why they did not split was because of the imperial dynasty among them. Although the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia was not looking for the agreement they signed, the newly appointed original prince, the decisive son of the previous emperor, in these statements as soon as it was made public, he chose to express his welcome to the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia to join the righteous side, and his willingness to develop deeper cooperation with the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. Joining forces with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, the three parties will eliminate the evil enemy alliance. On the other hand, the enemy alliance seemed to have no reaction for a while, but the impending storm soon showed itself. First of all, the Saudi kingdom has been bound to them for too long. When it came into contact with the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce, although the Saudi kingdom had vigorously withdrawn its personnel from the enemy alliance, there were still a large number of people left in the enemy's army. Bye. You are listening to Novels at Bless Up channel. Wish you happiness and luck. Please subscribe to receive new novels. How do you feel about this novel? Please like and leave a comment. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3373. The latter two possibilities are not very likely. There are not many people on the Imperial Island who can threaten the president. Evil. So outside spies agreed. He is in retreat. Why not go out? How can it be? The war is about to begin. Will the dignified chairman of the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce slip away in such an important situation? The spies didn't believe it anyway. Not to mention that others don't believe it, not even the people from the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce believe it. But what Jia Yan wanted was this unexpected effect. Evil. Puff. Subspace breaks apart. A dark creature emerged from the subspace. On the edge of the Geo family creation world not far away, a figure suddenly opened his eyes. Senior Monkey, what's wrong with you? The ape clone looked at the starry sky in astonishment for a while. After a long time, it seemed that he had confirmed something, and then he returned to his normal expression and turned back. Nothing, let's continue. Yes. No wonder the ape clone was also shocked. This real body's outing was quite an unexpected event for him. However, just looking at each other from a distance made him understand the reason for the real body's outing, and he understood it immediately. This is a great opportunity. But it was impossible for his clone to follow, so I had to say it was a smooth journey. Evil. The Large Magellanic Cloud is the largest of the many satellite systems of the Milky Way. It is 160,000 light-years away from the Milky Way. It seems much smaller than the Milky Way, but it has about 1/10 as many stars as the Milky Way. Numerous satellite galaxies, plus nebulae, etc., are actually places that have been forgotten by people, including the Magellanic Magellan, the two closest to the Milky Way, and are not small in size. However, everyone in the Milky Way has forgotten that although these satellite systems belong to the dwarf galaxy category, they are still extremely large and contain many and complex life forms. The strong will multiply. Humph, another visitor from the galaxy. I have inquired about those people from the Chamber of Commerce. They are affiliated to the subordinate chambers of commerce at the edge of the galaxy. The strongest person in the entire force does not even have a domain lord level. But when they come to our side, the territory lord level meets this chamber of commerce. I still need to ask for an audience with the senior management, evil. It's really too much to bully people. If we didn't need the galaxy's supplies, we would have attacked them long ago. What's the use of oral pleasure? If you can, just do it to them. In the Large Magellanic Cloud. It's another annual resource purchase day. There are only a few galactic caravan forces willing to travel long distances to the Large Magellanic Cloud, and they are all forces close to the edge of the galaxy. Therefore, people in the entire Greater Magellanic Galaxy are looking for these forces. Every time they visit the Milky Way, these forces are the first stop. Evil. However, they were still taken advantage of. The galactic people's arrogance left them helpless. Report, there is a suspected strong man from the Milky Way coming to the border. A strong man from the galaxy? How strong is he? It is estimated to be above the domain lord level. What? Territory lord level or above? Take me to the scene quickly. The expert who sits on the border is a domain master level expert from the Magellan Alliance. Evil. Such strength in the Large Magellanic Cloud is equivalent to the level of a senior domain lord in the Milky Way galaxy, which is not a low level. However, he knew very well that as a territory lord of the Great Magellan level, at least in this starry sky, his status was not as good as any territory lord from the Milky Way. The masters of the Milky Way galaxy are naturally superior to those in the Magellanic Galaxy at the same level. Is that the so-called master of the Milky Way domain over there? He is indeed extremely outstanding, and we people in the Magellanic Galaxy can't compare. Not only is our Magellan incomparable, but also the dozen or so small galaxies nearby. The domain masters at the border saw the Milky Way domain lord flying slowly from the starry sky, with a flattering look on their faces. I have met this friend. I wonder why you came to my place in the Magellanic Galaxy. Nothing, I just heard that this area is a prosperous place, and no one has been here in person, so I came here to take a walk. I see, welcome. We in the Magellanic Galaxy are absolutely hospitable. My friend, please come with me and let me show my friendship as a landlord. By the way, where in the Milky Way are you from? I am a wanderer in the galaxy. Ha ha ha, that's the ranger in the Milky Way, right? I've read about it in books. It's a pretty romantic profession. We and other small galaxy alliances don't have such romantic things. When the two met, they immediately seemed like brothers they had never met before, and they chatted lively. The border territory lord level master was accompanied by many subordinate officials, all of whom were smiling. Occasionally, they would send people to sneak up on the approaching galaxy territory master and stand next to him and take photos with him. This would be their bragging in the future. Capital can even be used to deceive others and magnify their political achievements. The visitor never showed any discomfort. Evil. Rather, it is like a spring breeze, giving people a very talkative feeling. Both sides were happy for a while. Deep in the subspace behind, with a pair of dark compound eyes, staring at the group of people swarming in front of him, Jia Yan had some thoughts for a moment. Before coming here, he thought that everyone in the Magellan Alliance would feel like everyone was shouting and beating the people of the Milky Way, but now that he saw it, it seemed that was not what he thought. After a second thought, I understood. There should be a lot of people who are hostile to the Milky Way, but with such a large body nearby, the level of civilization and the culture of the powerful are far higher than those in the surrounding areas. To the outside satellite system, it is like a real central region. It is indescribably prosperous and produces a large number of people. It is natural that he has many admirers. Evil. To put it bluntly, it's like admiring foreign things. And it's deep into the bone marrow. I'm not sure that among the so-called groups of people who are hostile to the Milky Way, most of them are born out of love and hatred. The vast majority of them have been kneeling for a long time. Jia Yan rubbed his giant mosquito chin and became very sure of the conclusion he had drawn. In this way, he would have more room for maneuver when he came to the Magellanic Cloud. The territory lord level being surrounded in front is not his clone. Although Jia Yan can now create a clone with strength equivalent to that of a territory lord level, his superficial strength is still less than that of a territory lord level. That won't keep things under control. So he found a domain lord level expert who was familiar with the trade area. Evil. In fact, he is a master of the gods from the great realm of gods. With the relationship between the goddess emperor and him, calling a territory lord level subordinate to assist Jia Yan was a trivial matter. Of course, when someone is brought out, they must be brought back intact. This is the bottom line that Jia Yan must achieve. With this person assisting me in my investigation overtly, it will be much easier for me to figure out what's going on in this area secretly, and then find the location of the so-called alliance and then carry out the robbery. Jia Yan and the other party have already negotiated and the division of labor is clear. When he arrived at the Magellanic Cloud this time, he didn't want to stay long. There are still many things going on in the other world, and a small-scale war broke out again in the Galaxy Chamber of Commerce. For him, he has to continue to sit in control. Evil. Moreover, being here in the Magellanic Galaxy, the purpose is to go against the local alliance forces. If you stay for a long time, you will inevitably be discovered, and maybe they will be jointly attacked again. Not to mention protecting the God King Master, even he himself they may be surrounded by enemies and fall. No matter how he said it, he could not reach the lower level of the territory lord, and he might still fall if he was surrounded by the same level. It depends on how that guy performs. It is said that he is responsible for the external diplomacy of the divine realm. He has been on the job for thousands of years. He should be very knowledgeable about these matters and can handle them easily. Jia Yan was right. The master of the God King named Tutan was simply able to do it with ease. Lord Tutan, you see, that is our border trading area over there. Trade with your galaxy has always been carried out in this area. It is also the only major place for trade with the Milky Way in the entire Magellanic Galaxy. The scale is huge, and it deserves recognition yet. Wherever, we still need to learn more from the Milky Way. Walking surrounded by many experts from the Magellanic Galaxy, God King Tutan looked calm, as if he was really a friendly visitor wandering here this time. It's not that he didn't know that in the subspace behind him, Lord Jia Yan was trying to cause trouble. But what does this have to do with him? The business of the divine spirit realm has not yet developed to the satellite system. Even many forces within the trade area still maintain a certain distance from the divine spirit realm. If you want to develop, it is easier to win over those alliances first, otherwise it will not be helpful. It is also developing in other directions of the Milky Way, and it cannot reach the satellite system hundreds of thousands of light years away from the Milky Way. Besides, it seems like it's really a bit behind here. As a diplomat, he knew very well that many of the technologies and details used in the seemingly prosperous Greater Magellan Border Trade Zone were far behind those in the galaxy. Evil. Including the sense of energy he himself exudes, the gap between the two sides is visible to the naked eye. It's already getting so late. Why don't you, Mr. Tutan, follow me to the administrative hall so that I can be a guest? Then it's better to be respectful than to obey. Tutan thanked him like a spring breeze. One party wants to put money on his face, and the other party wants information. This is called hitting it off and each getting what they need. But for the people of the large Magellanic Cloud, they had no doubts about this Tutan. In their minds, domain masters from the advanced and prosperous Milky Way galaxy would never value something from the large Magellanic Cloud. Evil. Moreover, the way the other party came must have used some secret method, otherwise the distance of 160,000 light-years would not have come simply by saying it. This kind of traveling method generally cannot bring too much stuff, and the Tutan territory lord may have to lose countless resources for a round trip. They just want to do this well and serve the dignified domain lords of the galaxy well, not only to leave a good impression on the other party, but also to lay the foundation for their own political achievements. How many years does it take for a domain lord level master in the galaxy to appear? It would be a pity not to be able to seize such an opportunity. Is that so? Lord Tutan wandered around because he was too sad because his good wife passed away. Yes, when my wife was alive, she wanted to see the scenery of various places. Unfortunately, when I woke up, the beauty was no longer there. In grief, I had no choice but to use my eyes to see all the scenery on her behalf, hoping can soothe her spirit in heaven. It's so tragic. As expected, he comes from a place with rich cultural heritage. He even has more emotions than I and Magellan. Evil. At the large welcome banquet held for Tutan, everyone was moved and respected by Tutan's purpose. Admiration for the Milky Way also developed unknowingly. Why do these guys keep dwarfing themselves? Diplomats like Tutan have already seen through their feelings of inferiority and envy. It's not that these guys aren't smart enough, but in this situation, no matter how smart they are, as long as the truth is seen through, they will become passive and easily led by the other party. But I heard that Magellan also have their own specialties, especially what seems to be some kind of antimatter, right? Taking advantage of this trip, I also want to collect some. I wonder if you sirs have any ideas. Matter and antimatter. Tutan's words made everyone startled again. Evil. Several of them looked at each other, and then asked strangely, Senior Tutan, who told me this rumor? My great Magellan once produced antimatter, but it was not a special product, but came from the distant starry sky. A little bit of it floated over, but now that 100 or 200 years have passed, those substances have long been divided up, and no one knows how much is left. Is that so? That's a pity. I have some research needs on matter and antimatter. I wonder if you can help me inquire about it? If there is any, I am willing to buy it at a high price. This. Everyone was in trouble for a while. They realized in their hearts that this so-called man who commemorated his deceased wife came to their great Magellan to search for matter and antimatter. The so-called matter and antimatter are actually antimatter. Tutan is not buying for himself. Evil. But for Jia Yan. As early as when he arrived, he had received instructions from Jia Yan, saying that he was asked to check more in this Magellanic area to see if there were any antimatter objects. Because Jia Yan once obtained a part of antimatter. As early as when he was extremely weak, he swallowed the piece of antimatter from the tree into his abdomen. From then on, he had an antimatter body. It can be said that the subsequent positive and negative yin and yang dao, as well as the yin and yang dao that was born based on a ray, was all indirectly created by that adventure. Looking for Book Garden, it can be said that it was an encounter that changed his destiny. So when he came this time, he not only wanted to solve the problem of admission tickets, but also wanted to get some antimatter. The original branch antimatter is said to have flown to the Milky Way from the Big Magellan universe. There are also rumors that some people bought the Milky Way from Magellan, and after many twists and turns, it fell into the hands of Jia Yan. Evil. Therefore, Jia Yan is quite looking forward to whether there is antimatter here. If you try to fuse more antimatter with yourself, maybe the harvest will be greater than imagined. Of course, this is just the ticket price. What can really break through the bottleneck of later stages will always be the main theme. Sir Jia Yan, I wonder if your subordinate's performance these days is still satisfactory to you. Reborn as an interstellar giant mosquito. Author, Bulletin U. Chapter 3374. Yes, you are very smart and your progress is very good. I will give you a nice word to the goddess emperor later. Thank you for your appreciation, sir. Within the subspace, Na Tutin met Jia Yan, and changed his magnanimous image in front of the people of the Magellanic Galaxy, and looked very respectful. Jia Yan was very satisfied with this person's performance. Not just in terms of attitude, but also in the way he treats people. Maybe Jia Yan can get a clone to do it himself, which is almost meaningless. Therefore, we should not underestimate the hero of the world. This person who is active in the field of diplomacy in the realm of gods. To Jia Yan, he is the kind of extroverted master that his personality cannot do. He is far better than Jia Yan himself in doing such infiltration work. It's going to be much more powerful. Perhaps I should train some subordinates in this field in the future, but it is quite difficult for such subordinates to take into account their strength at the same time, such as reaching the domain lord level of Tutin. It can only be said that there is no real big force behind me. It's really a little off-putting. It's not just once or twice for Jia Yan that he feels that his foundation is insufficient, so he doesn't feel uncomfortable this time. Is it called influence when you can borrow people? You don't have to feel bad at all, okay? At worst, the next time you need someone, just borrow it. Little Magellan. I have reached the level of the middle level of galaxy. It's wrong, or the villain has no vision. On that day, the weaklings of the two small satellite systems came and went in the border alliance area, and countless low-level players exited in the passage. Jia Yan, we've seen each other for a long time. You thought he was promoted to territory lord, but did you think that he was still wrong? Tutin established a deep friendship in a short period of time with my unique interpersonal and eloquent skills. But the creature that walked out was as swarthy as Eddie, but he had no aura of a territory lord at all. It felt like he was still the mid-level low-level player in the galaxy. After getting the information, Eddie nodded. The lower levels of the entire alliance, while keeping secrets, are secretly looking forward to it. Yes, he is able to achieve what he is now, and even you are not aware of it. It is rare that he and Leasha have been studying for so many years. Now is the time for him to show off his talents. Wen Yan, what he did was wrong. Those breakthrough techniques were taken from Leasha, and then he studied them based on his own situation. For us, the outer world is relatively far away, because no one really knows what the situation in the outer world is like, so we are still vague and we just sit back and watch the sky. Since I have promised my juniors to travel, I will definitely keep my promise. What's more, juniors, you have such a weak ability to move in subspace. I'm afraid it will take you many years to go back by yourself. I'd rather go with you and have a look. Eddie would value such a possessor. He's quite honest. Come on, try your best to let him handle security tasks. Besides, no matter what, it is possible to compete with the master level of Zheng's 4 meridians. But that little bit of faith, although blind, is indispensable. And a few days were enough for this Tutin to develop several bad relationships. It is said that the descendants of the crowned king and the different emperor lost their strength and retreated in those few days. The so-called border area between Little Magellan and Big Magellan is actually a large starry sky in the direction of Little Magellan approaching the Big Venyan. After all, they are all galaxies 18 light-years away, and the starting point may also be the edge of the Milky Way. For example, Eddie and us, including the distance from the trade area, are more than 14 light-years away. Arriving a month and a half later, it can't be said to be shocking. And I am in the small hall, which has isolated a piece of training ground, and people inside can't see inside at all. Although we have no agreement with this guy, this kind of verbal agreement is something that can be easily broken. You have to be prepared for a tough battle, so you need more information. Nowadays, the channels have been formed for hundreds of years, and communication has become more and more frequent. Tutin was slightly surprised. Tutin simply stated his reasons for going back. The villain has a sharp eye. It is true that your current breakthrough method was influenced by Sister Wenyansha and then modified based on your own situation. The villain is laughing. Trying to trick us all again with the same tricks is just setting yourself on fire. You couldn't let Wenyan travel with him last time, but he must remember to protect him. After all, I am the one with the strength to reach the Domain Lord level. I may not be able to catch up with the people I face. Wenyan's voice sounded. This crowned king will never succeed in promotion and will bring you the most insignificant era of the Magellan League. A few days ago, one morning, many low-handed people from the border area reluctantly said goodbye to Tutin. Therefore, the policy we adopted was to directly integrate into the local life here and secretly gather information. It's more comfortable than staying in a reception area. Jia Yan? Am I in retreat recently? In this way, the entire Magellan Alliance will regard me as a real breakthrough candidate. 210 had no expectations and thought that Jia Yan had succeeded in being promoted to Territory Lord. Tutin's social skills are only shown with the little Magellanics, and the same is true for Eddie. At least Eddie feels that he is so human when communicating with me. Because I'm very vague, the masters in the Alliance area are friendly to the beings on the trade side of the Milky Way, and they have no implicit hostility towards the Milky Way. Wenyan was in seclusion outside the palace, seemingly looking for some kind of breakthrough, but before Eddie returned to the palace to think for a while, he didn't bother me and drove the palace to Little Magellan. Is there a banquet in heaven that has come to an end? Everyone, look forward to the days when we haven't seen each other again. That galaxy is both unfamiliar and unfamiliar to the people of the Milky Way. Goodbye, on Tutin Pavilion. This time they stayed in the border area for several days. But when Eddie arranged for me to go up to rest, and there were only 7 people left in the small hall, Eddie and Jia Yan, Wenyan looked at Jia Yan with even weirder eyes. This is the result of Jia Yan taking the Earth tank and moving quickly in the deep space. If it were replaced by an ordinary Domain Lord level, it would take at least 1 or 2 years, or even decades, to reach Little Magellan. Renfen, Junior Tutin, you have come out of seclusion? It was from this that Tutin was brought. Besides, it's all villains who command well. But this time, Wenyan's alliance did not have a rare opportunity in 10,000 years, the opportunity to be promoted. Compared with the border area on the other side, Tutin outside there adopts a public-facing approach. Although my place is prosperous, the Wenyan galaxy is also a galaxy containing more than 10 billion stars. It is possible that the visit of a mere Domain Lord can cause the entire galaxy to tremble. Now you are going to the central area of the Little Magellan Alliance. It may not be safe this time. If he is worried, he cannot just transfer back to the small realm of the gods. Haha, what a little genius from the Milky Way. Look, you have one from the Magellanic League? This is true even for the smallest satellite systems, let alone the large Magellan and other larger satellite systems that are more distant. Yes. The starry sky and the large Magellan formed an extremely common gravitational wave channel. Borrowing that gravitational wave from both sides could not increase the passage time. Of course, that gravitational wave channel was formed naturally, but it was the 2 sides. After long-term consultations and the efforts of 1 or 2 generations, a stable channel was finally formed, which is a history full of blood and tears. From my point of view, no matter how great a path you take, no matter how much breakthrough you make, it is still possible to reach a small level gap in the serious way of cultivation. The gap between the peak of the intermediate galaxy and the Territory Lord level is so small that it is imaginable. No matter how Jia Yan is the peak of the intermediate galaxy, and no matter how powerful he is in breaking through the formation, he can still catch up to my Territory Lord level. The content of those people's secrets has already been obtained from Faceless Girl, and I think Faceless Girl must have not passed on the information that I threatened them to the Magellan Alliance. No matter how tight the time is, it's not so short. Everything is difficult at the beginning, and they have to fight for it. At the edge of the bar-like resting place where the few people were sitting with their hands down, two low-level people who looked like middle-class people in the galaxy looked at each other and continued to eat as if they didn't hear clearly. The promotion of Xiaonen is extremely easy. There must be a promotion channel in the outside world. It is said that there will be no more than 7 or 8 weeks Xiaonen in the galaxy. In fact, there was no response in the border area, and even a splash could be heard in further areas. There is no huge palace outside. Laasha and Jia Yan now have no direction of their own cultivation, which makes people feel that time has passed. It's nothing short of you. Jia Yan's voice came from inside the palace. Tutin deployed his flying skills and slowly disappeared from everyone's sight. The low-level players in the entire Little Big Magellan Alliance are in a state of exhaustion within the alliance. So I just care too much. Strangers are among the very few people who care about interstellar topics. They all know that the Milky Way is not that famous as a satellite system. Turning off the communicator, I thought to myself. So when you are in trouble, don't say anything bad, just a few compliments. That person's ability to communicate is a small advantage for me in obtaining information. And when I saw it, Wen Yan pulled me back into the subspace. Junior Tutin is joking. You have only broken through for a few years, and you want to be promoted to the Domain Lord level. It is not difficult at all. You are a genius like Eddie. No matter how young I was, I would use my combat power, which had not yet reached its peak, to challenge this peak existence head-on. Those two people were Tutin and Jia Yan, who were sent out by Eddie to take action. It is beyond this person's strength. If it is groundless, as far as you know, the entire Magellan Alliance has dozens of low-level domain lords who have been killed. Those who have reached the near peak should not be broken. There are several, but I stand out, which shows that the actual strength is definitely underestimated. Don't you know that the so-called peak strength is no different from the peak of the previous level of your galaxy domain lord? Through complex intelligence, it can be known that the so-called Yi Emperor is a rather unscheming person. The headquarters of the Little Magellan Alliance is located in Little Magellan, and it is close to the border area of Big Magellan. The exchanges between the two parties here far exceed that in that area. Inside the isolated place, Eddie smiled slightly before feeling the gains from my diligent retreat in recent decades. Tutin, what he did was very wrong. The small god realm is bordered by the trade zone, or the original trading zone was not part of the small god realm. Therefore, as a diplomat in the small god realm, Tutin had dealt with Jia Yan much more often than when in the nearly 100 years. Mr. Yan, we are very familiar with each other. Everyone who can hold the admission ticket, no matter how bad his birth is, still has no ability. Oh? This alien emperor has no breakthrough again? What a bad thing that is. But the reason why Taoists are divided is because the galaxy at such a close distance is obviously large, but there are too many forces or weak people who really communicate with it. If you deliberately search for relevant news, you will not be able to find it at all. Someone knows what happened outside the Xiao Wenyanyan galaxy. This is too bad. The Yi Emperor's descendants have always maintained such a breakthrough trend. It's you who are fighting for the opportunity. That's correct. He is belittling himself. You are looking forward to the process of his mission this time. But you still need to be less cautious in everything. After all, in the small Magellanic galaxy, except for the domain lord level, there are no senior territory lords, and those in the upper ranks of territory lords. Hey, what kind of breakthrough? If there is such a breakthrough before reaching the territory lord's front level, then the alien emperor will be trapped in the territory lord's front level for nearly 7,000 years. They just listened to the rumors about that incident. I just released the smoke, it's just to reassure the people. If the Milky Way will look at your alliance in the future, it will even communicate with you on an equal footing. Before Eddie learned the information about the inner world, he smiled contemptuously. His formation power has broken through. After all, it took nearly a month and a half. Wen Yan smiled, but there was a hint of bitterness in my expression. Eddie glanced at the superior who usually showed up, and a hint of his thoughts emerged. This time Magellan got such a stepping stone. After giving instructions to Jia Yan, who was losing strength, Eddie asked me to go up and consolidate my strength. Tuten looked at Eddie's expression and immediately understood that Jia Yan's breakthrough was in the formation. It was the power of passing through the formation, a magical power belonging to the yin and yang dao. The person who has lost even the yin and yang dao, it is basically possible to see what level Jia Yan is now. In order to stabilize the morale of the military and make the so-called Magellanic League loyal to me, they released the so-called intelligence on successive breakthroughs. You've heard it too, and it's the father-in-law of your aunt's son's friend's brother who lives next door. Keep it true. So it's just a little bit of time. But what people in the Milky Way know is that we are no strangers to the Little Big Magellan. We have gradually formed a stable alliance in the past few thousand years, and the unified thinking at the lower levels of the alliance is to fight against the weak Milky Way and find a feeble path of our own.